Hey, how's it going? Yes. It's a good thing I checked this before I went live because I was playing music again and the PC output was not muted again and I don't want to get DMCA'd. So, hey, welcome. I can't get my camera angle quite right when I'm standing versus sitting. But okay, now music back on. We're muted. Okay, cool. DMCA, man. Not cool. Yeah, welcome. So today we are going to be, yes, my microphone is on. Okay. Today we are going to be exploring the Netlink interface for ethtool. I am very excited about this because for a long time, if you wanted to like diagnose problems with your Ethernet adapters, like something like CRC mismatches or changing the modes or the negotiation like of the different speeds and stuff, you had to do this through the iooctl interface. And it turns out that this is something I knew was proposed for a long time, but I didn't actually realize it was in newer kernels. So I think a lot of my machines for a long time were on 5.4, and then I jumped to 5.6, so this could have been added in like, 5.7, 5.8. I don't actually know. I'm sure somebody can look it up, but I don't particularly care. But what's cool now is that all of my machines are on 5.8 plus, so at this point, I can implement this and use this, and actually what I want to do eventually is build this out somewhat and build some kind of like Ethernet interface monitoring daemon, because I've had issues before where I was like dropping I was having frames with like CRC mismatches because of like a bad cable, and that's something that would have been nice to alert on. And this is the exact interface that allows for that sort of thing, so that'll be very cool. But yeah, I'm excited. And I made Chemex coffee. It is very delicious, and I'm already a little jittery, and I've only had like a third of it, so it's gonna be a day. People sometimes will tease me in stream. They're like, "Hey, I'm not a native English speaker. Can you slow down?" And it's like, the problem is I'm caffeinated and I'm excited and it's my personality, so I'll do my best. But yeah, I'm excited. Let's do this. What beans did I use? Actually, we have a local place here called Factory Coffee. So one sec. Factory Coffee Kalamazoo. I like them. They've been here for a couple of years, but I had been holding out for a long time until I tried some of their stuff. But I am drinking the Factory Wild Child Espresso Blend. I did it in a Chemex, and it's very good. I've also had their Colombian. I'm not big on Colombian personally. I find it kind of has like this sour sort of taste a little bit that's not super pleasant for me. And they've actually distributed a cold brew Colombian, which is pretty good, but I make my own cold brew at the moment. But I will probably try this in cold brew or maybe one of their other blends. But yeah, these folks are doing good stuff, so would recommend. Drink local, right? I think I saw it in your Twitter the other day. Yes, you did. By the way, try three, thank you for the follow. By the way, Heratalk, I believe I saw a question last night in the chat. You asked what my favorite whiskey was, or in Jordan's chat, but things got rolling along. I apologize for not getting to that. As far as favorite whiskey, that's a good question too, right? So, I think it would depend on the variety of whiskey, right? So, for example, my personal favorite bourbon I've ever had is William LaRue Weller, which is an impossible to find Buffalo Trace Antique Collection bottle. It's unbelievably good. My favorite scotch, something from Isla, probably. I really, really like Octomore 10 year. Octomore 10 year is a super heavily peated Isla. It's delicious. I have a Kalila 30 year, and my favorite overall brand for scotch is probably still Lafroig. The Lafroig, I have a Lafroig single barrel bourbon cask finish, like cask strength, 60% crazy, delicious store pick, and it's awesome. Yeah, so those are probably my two favorites, but I would have a hard time picking a favorite. I'd have a hard time picking a favorite, like one overall, because they're so different. But yeah, happy Saturday, y'all. Cool, we got some people rolling in here already. This is sweet. We're gonna have a good time. I'm excited. Got something going on Twitter. Oh, yeah. So, Roman, I'm not sure if you're in the chat right now, Roman. You mentioned no more raw syscalls needed. Yep. The intent is to... Yep. Another Netlink interface was added, so we can stop using the iooctl. Or yeah, it looks like... And... Wow. You can tell I'm caffeinated when I start using spacebar way too much. Netlink interface is added, so stop using the iooctl interface. Rejoice. I'm very excited. Thanks for the answer. I'm a bourbon drinker myself, but I haven't tried anything too crazy or special yet. Yeah, right on. So I started with I started with Eagle Rare, actually. Eagle Rare was my first bourbon I started drinking by myself. Of course, all Buffalo Trace products are very good, but depending on where you are, they can be hard to find. I personally also would highly recommend Old Forester. 1910 and 1920 especially is awesome. Old Forester Rye is great. Michter's bourbon. I really like Michter's Rye, actually. Elijah Craig Small Batch, Knob Creek Bourbon. Like, there's lots of good stuff out there that's not made by Buffalo Trace, and as a result, you might be able to actually find it. So I hope that's helpful. Welcome to the whiskey journey. Hey, Dominic, what's up? You're in lurk mode today. Yeah, no worries. I appreciate all of the, I appreciate you hanging out, Cool. Yeah, so let's get back to this. So basically, the reason I found out about this is GENL control list. And this shows the available generic Netlink families that are registered on my system right now. And I noticed this ethtool one, and I was like, oh, no way. And then I started taking a look at this, so I'm pretty excited. I've actually implemented a few of these before. So we've done DevLink, which is like for Mellanox, like InfiniBand and Ethernet devices. Actually, DevLink and ethtool, these are kind of like two sides of the same coin a little bit for like, InfiniBand versus Ethernet. So it's possible we could build a daemon that does both. That could be pretty cool. MPTC, multipath TCP PM. Really? I've never... Does this kernel have multipath TCP? I didn't think it did. And then task stats I've done as well. There's a few of these in here. Came to look for this ethtool thing. Seeds coffee seems about right. Yeah, totally. Coffee or whiskey or something else. Yeah, I was just talking about whiskey too. I'm always happy to give recommendations for all such things. But yeah, I would love to show the whiskey collection, but I'm afraid to show it on stream. I need to tidy it up. Like, my closet is a mess, You haven't loaded the IPVS module. Yeah. I mean, this is my desktop, so I guess I don't really have any reason to have it loaded. Let's see what my... I think that this program, I have to use a slightly different one, so less, right? So, NL control, this is the generic Netlink controller. So it's worth noting today, I say we're building this on the Netlink interface. This is actually the Netlink interface, which has generic Netlink on top, and then this is built on top of generic Netlink, which is actually the best case scenario, because all of those families tend to follow the rules a lot better than older ones like Route Netlink. DevLink, ethtool, yes, we've got quite a few different commands and stuff supported here. I think probably today we're going to start with the read-only stuff. Maybe we'll get into some of the version negotiation. There's a multicast group for something. I don't know why yet. All this NLBL stuff. ACPI events. Task stats, yep, I've implemented that. NL802.11, yes, for Wi-Fi devices, I've implemented that as well. WireGuard, yeah, I've done that one too. So no IPVS on either of my machines, I guess, but... Anyway, so we are starting with a brand new project and a brand new Git repo. So this is very exciting, and I'm glad because I have nothing to do for the next 5 hours. So I was sitting here at my computer kind of thinking like, okay, how involved do I want to get, right? Something... I keep coming back to this idea, and I'm not saying it's a good idea, but part of me wants to read and implement quick. Like, I want to implement my own quick library, kind of. And I know that's, like, insane, because the quick RFC is not small, and still a work in progress, and there's been somebody working on a quick library for, like, 4 years and go, but I kind of want to do my own, and then on top of that, do HTTP 3 and stuff like that, too. But we'll see if I'm brave enough for that. I'm not willing to commit to that idea quite yet, but I think that would be a lot of fun, and probably a great learning experience, too. This or Stardew Valley. Yeah, I actually played Stardew for a couple hours earlier, but I find that if I play a game for more than like a couple hours these days, I generally lose interest pretty quick. So it's good for me to keep things varied up, Getting some more stuff rolling on Twitter. People are excited about this. Yeah, welcome. I'm glad. I'm very happy. Yeah, like I said, I had nothing going on, so I'm happy to do this, Let's see here. So I think probably it's actually been a while since I built a generic Netlink package. So I think probably what we should do is reference some of the other stuff I've done, like my devlink package in particular, I think is a pretty good example, but we need to create a Go module and everything, and then... Oh. What was I... Oh, maybe I did merge that. Okay. Yeah, so kind of the pattern I like to follow with these, actually, is because we're going to need... Terrence says, when I'm feeling better, I need to stream. I'm building an IL implementation. What's IL? I hope you're feeling okay. So the way I like to do the Netlink stuff is by creating this platform-independent package right here, because we're going to be relying on lots of kernel constants and stuff, which are all guarded behind build tags, and as a result, or they're all like in like a syscall package, the XSys Unix stuff, so as a result, they will not be cross-platform compatible. Internet link. I'm actually not familiar. From Plan 9. Oh, very cool. Okay, right on. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create this high-level wrapper with the docs, and then this little shim here, some kind of like OS client interface or something, And then behind that, we will actually implement the real code, which is all like this client Linux type stuff where you actually dial the generic Netlink connection, get the family, stuff like that. So we actually also need to add, I'm pretty sure xsys doesn't support this yet. Golang xsys. We'll find out. ethtool. Nope, just the ioctl. Okay, so we need to actually add support for this xsys. This is actually a good learning experience as well. I think that if we do a stream today and possibly another one tomorrow, we should have actually quite an educational thing as far as starting a library from scratch that uses the xsys stuff, adding something new to that upstream and getting that shipped, and then pulling it down and actually building out a Netlink interface. Like, I think that's going to be something that people would actually really appreciate. So we can definitely do that, but we need to start with the xsys package first. So xsys, right? Yeah. Okay. So it's been a little while, but basically what we need to do here is... Oh, that's smart. I should copy this. We need to add the library and import it here into like this cgo code generator, and then we'll actually get all of the structures we need. And then from there, we have to copy out these constants and stuff, but it looks like there's this clever little Perl one-liner we might be able to borrow for the ethtool stuff as well. So what's the C header called for this? I think it's like, hang on. Linux ethtool netlink.h. Sweet. Alphabetize, right? So R comes before T, yes. Include. Okay. And now if we run the tool as is, so this is gonna... If we run the tool as is, like, I suspect this is only going to get us some of the constants and stuff. Oh, yeah. Well, this takes a little bit, so we're gonna need to do this anyway. So what it's doing right now is it's gonna pull, like, the new kernel, the new version of Go, the Docker container, like, there's this whole build system here. And what it actually does is it will build all this and put the constants out as appropriate for each different architecture as well. So in addition to just AMD 64, we can actually, my machine's AMD 64 Linux. We're going to get this for ARM and RISC-V and MIPS and S390X, all those different arches as well, which is great. So you use some other C2Go tool, C4Go. Yeah, I've actually used C4Go before as well. I just prefer to put things in the upstream xsys package if possible, because that way everybody can benefit from it. It makes things easier. Yeah, yes, I already have the make all the sh command in the bash history. Yeah, this is something I've run a number of times. I add stuff to xsys pretty often. So this is going to take a little bit, but the problem is I don't really want to like this is kind of like a necessary first step. Like, I guess we could start copying stuff like the license and stuff like that. We could like set up the repo a little bit more. So ethtool, we're gonna need, what's the last project I did? I haven't created any repos in 2021, so we're gonna need to change the license here. But what's the last project I created? My modem manager stuff was like 6 months ago. I guess I could copy the license and stuff from that. Don't accidentally make it proprietary code. Yeah, I won't. Don't worry. Are you digging on are you giving a little dig at Jordan there? That whole thing is pretty funny. Let's see. I no longer need this. Okay. We need. You are nice. Hey, Wakanda Bear, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Modem manager? No. Yeah, I want to go back to ethtool repo. Right. Okay. So we got a go mod, go 115. Yeah, it seems good. Copyright 2021. Accidentally. I mean, he says he accidentally did. I trust him, you know, but modem manager. And actually, we're going to want to swap the Godoc badge, excuse me, for a package.go.dev. So modem manager ethtool. Yes. So the package go.dev badges, those come from package.go.dev. For example. Yeah, I still have a Godoc. You can get a badge for this, right? How do you get a badge from package.go.dev? I actually don't remember. Quick chat, help me. I'm totally clueless. Latest package module. These things are version. One of the tabs at the top. About. Y go discover packages. Package go dev badge. Badge generation tool. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. GitHub.com, MD layer. Let's do Netlink because that one actually exists right now. All right, sweet. So if I were to add this, for example, to my README, you found it by mistake once. Nice. Yeah, we're going to start using the package.go.dev badges instead. I think that's a good idea. So instead of Netlink, this is going to be ethtool. Okay, so now whenever we have a Go module uploaded, this will show up, which is cool. So ethtool and its devices using dbus, not quite. So the doc I put here is this. So package ethtool allows control of the Linux ethtool generic Netlink interface. I think that probably if you're using this, you know what it does. Like you probably have a pretty good idea what ethtool does. I might need to shed the hoodie. The coffee's like kicking in, you know. Package ethtool. Next. More information, see this. What do you mean? Netlink isn't a word. Like, how many times have I used this? This should be in my user dictionary. All right. MIT. Okay, so now we need the GitHub Actions, right? So I just did GitHub Actions for the core ones. I feel like are pretty good too. So we'll copy those. How about that? Linux integration. Do not need that right now. It looks like you're writing a letter. Would you like some help? Yes, please. That's what Twitch chat's for. Hey, son. Hey, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Folks who followed last night, if people are still here, so let me just give a shout out really quick. So, 1T Sipo, MSSMFS, wow, Chachi, Mjanav, Nar XVX Nar, All You Need Is GNU, Foreign Dot, Monsif. Thank you all for the follows yesterday. I appreciate that. If anybody's still here. We had a really good time on the stream yesterday with Large Data Bank. I apologize. I didn't want to interrupt just for, stuff like that, but I do appreciate it. The folks coming here and like supporting me in the stream and everything, it really does mean a lot to me, and it gives me the motivation to keep doing this, So thank you all. I appreciate that a lot. So we'll run the tests. Yep, that's good to go. Static analysis. Static check, run it, vet. This stuff we don't need. Okay. Go 115. Okay, so we've got the GitHub workflows, we've got the Go mod. I guess now we could create the, what do you call it? Create the repo, right? Thanks a lot for mentioning Airgroup yesterday. Nice. It was exactly what I was looking for without knowing it was or existed. Yeah, Airgroup is amazing. This is something I use all the time. All the time. So if you have a group of Go routines and you want them to like be able to return errors, there's this Airgroup type. And you create an Airgroup group, you call this Go function, and this spins off a function in a Go routine that can then return an error. And whichever function returns an error first, this gets propagated to this wait function. So this is incredibly useful. And you can even tie it up with context. So this tiny little package is exactly what you need for lots of like concurrent use cases. So in Core, for example, we use this everywhere, like all over the place. I have like at least 5 or 6 different air groups. You also found Tomb, which seems to do something similar, but has not changed since 2016. I feel like the name Tomb is familiar, but I don't recall exactly. Actually, was that one of the canonical? It might have been one of the canonical Go packages from Juju or something. That does seem familiar. But yes, Airgroup is great. I highly recommend. If you ever need to like spin up Go routines that might return errors, this is where you should look. So. Right, Go 115, 115. Docs, I think we can, at this point, we can commit this. Just get it going. Go mod tidy. Get ID personal. I have this little, I forget exactly what it is, but I discovered it on a blog, and it makes it so that I have to specify my identity. So every repo, I get mdlayer@gmail.com along with like all of my, along with like my git commit signing and stuff like that. So. Oh, Terran uses OKLog run as an alternative Airgroup. Yeah, OKLog run is also good as well. I find that Airgroup works fine for me, but I think that the run group is also a very interesting concept. But yeah, I'm sure, I know that's it's Peter with work, and I'm sure it's quite good. So, ethtool initial commit. Oh, right, git remote add origin GitHub. MD layer, ethtool, -u origin head. I did not create the repository yet. Yes. Okay. That is something you would need to do before GitHub will allow you to push to it. ethtool. Package ethtool allows control of information C. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put that in the website link, MIT license. All of my open source libraries are MIT unless there's a good reason to do otherwise, and then I make my applications Apache too because I believe it has better patent protections. I frankly forget exactly. I'm not a lawyer, you know. License can ignore readme. Yeah, we're good to go. Cool. Empty repo. And push. All right, we're done. Stream over. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. This better have 100 stars by tomorrow or I'm never streaming again. Let's see here. Website. There we go. Okay, thanks. Bye. Topics. Golang. Ugh. Hate it. Linux. Networking. Ethernet. Shoot. Cancel MD layer. Calm down there, developer of Iris. Ooh, that hurts. Iris is a thing, you know. I thought separate spaces. Linux, networking, Netlink, Ethernet. That should be pretty good. Okay. Cancel MD layer. Just submitted to HN. Thanks, I appreciate that. And the GitHub sponsors. Yeah, I actually do have a GitHub sponsors account, and there are a few folks who sponsor me, and I am truly, truly grateful. Thank you all. But that being said, I have a full-time income as a software engineer, so I would encourage you, if you are considering sponsoring somebody, sponsor Dominic. Dominic is the author of Static Check, and I sponsor Dominic, and most of the money I make from Twitch and my sponsors goes to Dominic. So I would highly recommend sponsoring him because his work benefits the entire Go community. So shameless plug for Dominic. He's an awesome guy. And he makes awesome tools and he makes the entire community better. So happy to help. Always happy to help. So okay, actually, let's go see what that code generator is doing. Hey, yeah, see, it's still running. So it actually takes a while to pull the kernel and everything, pull the kernel and the new version of Go and build the Docker images and whatever else, but it's still running. This takes a little bit. So RISC-V, I think after that there's Spark and S390X, so it's only got a couple more arches to go. But then we will see what exactly it's done, and we might see that we get new constants, or we need to actually create the listings for them in the file, which is more likely. So that's where we can use that little Perl one-liner trick, because I don't know Perl, but somebody pasted it in the... Was it? I feel like... Flo, was it you who put the Perl one-liner? Somebody... I feel like somebody from the networking channel, I feel like added that Perl one-liner to XSys. And I feel like it might have been Flo, but I don't remember. I mean, we could look at the Git blame, but it's more fun to speculate, right? Yeah, I did one. Nice. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. You're going to save me a lot of effort. So, because I would just do it by hand. It's so funny when it comes to like shell one-liners, like I'm horrible. I'm awful, you know, and there are people who know so much better than me. And it's great being able to leverage their knowledge. Still going. Someone gave me this line of Perl I don't understand is how the vast majority of Perl reproduces. Yeah, I can confirm that. I told the story last night on stream with a large data bank, but when I first started DigitalOcean, pretty much everything in the backend was Perl, and I didn't know Perl, so that was exactly how my Perl reproduced, was by copying other people's. Yeah, sounds about right, huh? Come on, merging. Okay, there we go. Almost done. What do we got? I used to use a lot of such Perl magic back at my last work. Nice. You read a book once on Perl. I think Jordan said he went to a Perl conference, so he's got you beat. Now, full-time Go and eBPF. Nice. Just to clarify, I I respect Perl. It personally does not suit my taste, but I do respect it as a language that can be used to get lots of productive work done. And especially like, it was one of the original, like very popular, like web languages, right? With like the CGI stuff. So mad respect to Perl folks who can do it well. There are folks who work at Fastly, for example, that are incredible, and their Perl code is much better than the stuff I could write. So I do have a tremendous amount of respect. Okay, so this did exactly what I was speculating, so we're going to have to actually add the constants and stuff and the types we need, which is, a thing. This is where elixir bootland.org. Or is it com? Perl is fine for configuration, but not for production, I think. Yeah, I could see that. So we need to find the file here, and the easiest way to do it is just to copy a constant out. So like, yeah, something like this. And then we figure out what lives in that file and what we want to add, because we need all of these. Here we go. Yeah, so it's a bunch of enums. Okay. So we want all of these message types, user space to kernel, kernel to user space. This is interesting. So I was looking at this, and it looks like this might be a bit more advanced than a lot of the generic Netlink libraries. I saw it uses like the extended acknowledgements in Netlink, which my library supports, but I've actually never used myself. So. Oh, you know what? Shoot, I forgot something. We also need to, let's see here. We'll get back to devlink. We need to add to the regex. There is a big regex down here somewhere. Where does it live? Is it in the errors file? It's so funny because I've done this a million times and I still always forget where things live in here. So types that go under Linux, but there's also the errors, right? Make errors, make errors.sh. Is it the shell script? It is, yes, exactly. So we need to add the prefix here that we care about. So I've actually been adding things to the list right here. So ethtool _ So what this should do, we actually need to add the header file here as well, or the header include. What this should do is give us all of the constants generated. And then once we have the constants, we can get a little bit further along. So Linux, here we go. You have to search every time as well. Yeah. I could take notes for next time. Nah, I'm good. It's more fun to make it up on stream. So like I was saying, we're going to just run this again to see where we get now. But like I was saying on stream last night with large data bank, I think it's cool and important for us as programmers to show like vulnerability and that we don't have all the answers on stream, because I guarantee there's probably people in here right now who, might be either new to the career or, perhaps having a little bit of imposter syndrome or whatever else. And it's like, the thing is that everybody makes mistakes. Everybody learns. We all fumble. We all, do silly things. And I think it's important to show that and show that, like, even though my final code I think is very good, my process is still kind of all over the place, right? And I think it's good because it humanizes us and it makes you realize that, like, we're even experienced programmers are just, people who make mistakes and, get things wrong and, still need to learn. So I think that's pretty cool. How many years of experience do you have? I think I said last night I have 8 years of experience. I think that's roughly, yeah, I think that's roughly right. I had my first coding internship, I think started in like 2012, but then I started working full-time in 2013. So yeah, I think at this point I say about 8 years. I was at a company here in Kalamazoo for a couple of years, another company for a very short time, and then DigitalOcean for 4.5, and now Fastly for 2. So yeah, I've got roughly 8 years of experience. And I still make mistakes all the time. And there's still plenty of things I don't know. So Dominic says, sometimes I Google basic tree traversals. Yeah, I 100% feel that. If I get into like a data structure I haven't used in a while, 100%, I was talking last night too, like I bought the Cracking the Coding interview book before I had my interview at Fastly, and I was all afraid of like the data structures and algorithms type stuff. And I was, it's a thing. It's a thing people do in interviews sometimes. And I did fine, but it mostly comes down to, I personally think it's important to know, if you have a problem like, divide and conquer, right, then you probably want some kind of like binary search or something. Or if you want to be able to like look things up with like quick indexing times, like you probably want like a hash map. Like knowing the basics and having some kind of intuition helps. But ultimately, I think memorizing every little algorithm and optimization is not really helpful. And I think it's important for people to realize that like that's not what people do in the real world. At least not people I've met. You know, maybe I truly am below the level of such godlike programmers, but every time it's been a while, how to do a for loop. Yeah, I mean, if you tell me to write Rust right now, I don't know if I could write a for loop. You know, it's been probably 9 months since I did Rust on a regular basis, and I mean, Go is the only language I have the syntax memorized for at this point. Like, I could go back and look at my old PHP or C projects or whatever else, and I would still have to, I'd have to look up all the syntax, you know? Oh, my coffee's getting a little cold. Need to talk less, drink more. All right. I can think of good algorithms. I just stumbled through the process with lots of experimentation. Absolutely, and I think honestly that's healthy, right? Like you should have maybe some intuition or know like this looks like this kind of problem, and you know. But then from there, like you shouldn't have to memorize how to implement all this bullshit. Frankly, you know, it doesn't really matter. I was working in I was working in C yesterday and kept forgetting to add semicolons. Yeah, I do that all the time too. Large Data Bank, welcome. Thank you so much for the sub for 8 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thank you so much for having me yesterday. It was a total blast, and we will definitely do that again. I hope you all appreciated that as well. And we were worried at first that we made a list of topics and things we wanted to like talk about, but you know, I didn't even open that list. Like chat kept us busy, and I thought that was a really good time. So I hope you all appreciated it as much as I enjoyed doing it. So Wakanda Bear says, I'm working on a take-home exercise for an interview right now. That's fun. I have to say it is so much better than whiteboard interviews. I've done whiteboard on both sides of the table and still think take-home is so much better, at least when you're on the receiving end. Yeah, so the take-home interview thing, my personal preference is, or the take-home project, that's my personal preference as well compared to a whiteboard. I understand some companies that let you choose both, but there's also the question of some people think that you know you should be paid for work you're doing, right? So if you were writing code for that company, then you should be paid to do that project or something. And I think that's kind of an interesting idea too. I never really thought about it that way. I suppose I don't have a strong opinion on the debate, but I do really like take home stuff as well because I think that that's where I can show off my best work. Switching between Go and Rust every time. Oh, with semicolons? Yeah, totally. Yeah, I apologize. This takes a little bit. It's a thing. What do we got? Yeah, so now we need to, I think we're going to steal Flo's Perl one-liner and do that really quick too. Because I'm pretty sure, are there any structs in here we care about? I think it's all just enums, actually. So if you're using this code generator and there are structs, you actually have to spell out the struct type as well. But if, for all the enums, it's pretty easy. The Perl one-liner ought to do it. There are a shit ton of commands for this. I guess the good news is it doesn't look like there are any structs, which means that chances are pretty good this is all going to be pure netlink attributes, which are by far the easiest to deal with. Because as soon as you end up with like, oh god, route netlink, like the nexthops API, so you have the netlink header, the route netlink header, and then the RTM get route or something, and then you have attributes. So you've got netlink attributes, and then the next hops attribute contains a netlink array of a C structure packed followed by variable like netlink attributes. And you have to iterate over them, get the fixed size C structure, unpack it, figure out how large the netlink attributes are, and keep doing that. And then inside those attributes, there's like more stuff. Like it's insanity, you know. So I definitely have come to appreciate generic netlink families because it doesn't seem like this is going to do that to me, which is great. War Daddy is in the house. What's up, James? The take-home exercise should ideally not be something that benefits the company. For example, for more artistic work, the exercises are specifically made so they are unusable. Design a shoe ad for a computer business. I agree. I think that's a good idea. And I think that the reality is, like, I would never take a candidate's work and put it in production. Like, frankly, I mean, I have more, you know, self-respect and everything than that, I guess. But yeah, I would never do that. But there have been people that have, like, accused employers of doing that, which I think is pretty interesting, you know? By the way, one sec. Oh, come on, Twitch. Twitch UI is a bit of a thing sometimes. There we go. Almost done, right? PowerPC. Hey, oh wow, MD Lair, thank you for the gift sub to Dominic. I appreciate that, MD Lair. Dominic, welcome back to the stream. Enjoy. You hang out often enough that you shouldn't have to deal with ads. So I appreciate you hanging out. It's kind of funny because I think that there's like something in the Twitch affiliate agreement that like you have to make like $100 your first year or else they take away your affiliate. But I'm pretty sure I'm good to go. War Daddy, you called? Yeah, so James here likes to call himself War Daddy, and there is apparently a story behind that. But I mean, you can't give yourself a nickname, man. That's not how that works. You know, if somebody gave that to you, that's one thing. But I got a Chase notification like, oh, you just spent $5 on Twitch. Yes, I did. Thank you. I don't think they'll take away your affiliate. They just won't pay out until you do it. Gotcha. That could be true. We all know you call me that. I mean, I call you War Daddy because you have like your name is that in like every chat, but I didn't give you the nickname. I don't know who did. Why is Netlink so weird? It's so different than all the other kernel APIs. That's fair. I think the thing is with Netlink though is that it actually ends up being a lot cleaner because instead of having these crazy C structures which may or may not like gain fields in future kernel versions, you have attributes, and the attributes you have like a fixed thing attached to them, and then you can just add more attributes in the future. So I personally love Netlink. I guess for good reason. I've been doing Netlink stuff for 4 years. Like I wrote a Netlink library in Go, and I've been doing this for 4 years, so I'm just used to it. But I very much like it. I think it's a good API. But I can understand why you would say that. It is very different than other kernel APIs, but it is a lot better than ioctl stuff. ioctl, IOCTL. Jackace, James, thank you for the 100 bits. Hashtag bit leader. I appreciate that. Amazon takes away your ad affiliate if you don't make enough. I know that firsthand. Oh, really? Interesting. Referral affiliate thing, whatever it's called, the link juice. Okay. I mean, I'm not doing this to make any kind of money. I was saying earlier, it's like, you know, pretty much all the money I make from this gets funneled to Dominic. So it's just the scheme, right? Appreciate the sub. Yeah, no problem. Hey, I'm happy to help out. You hang out, and, you know, you support the community, and like, you know, you do great things for us. So we should all be showing you gratitude, you know. Yeah, true. All kernel APIs are weird in their own way. That's exactly it. Like, I feel like you kind of just have to pick one, but actually, I'm really excited because this looks way easier than the route netlink stuff I've been doing. So this should be a total breeze for me. I'm gonna look like such a top tier god programmer, you know. There should be a panel discussion, more like a podcast between folks at Large Databank, MD Lair, and MDemski, a monthly event, maybe. Yeah. So that's actually something something we talked about, and like I think the idea, you know, we were talking in stream, and Jordan and I were like, hey, we could get together, maybe get MDemski or Barrick Mitch and some other folks, and I think we will probably end up doing that, but we will see how it started. I think to start with, we wanted to do just the two of us and see how it went, but I can guarantee we will do more collaborations in the future because it was a lot of fun. Stream hardware Zen 2 ain't cheap. That's a good point. I can't wait to get 5,000 compilation errors points and make you review my code. Yes, we do have a channel point reward. So if you get 5,000 compilation errors, hey, there we go. Why did it add ESP? That's strange. I don't know how these would have gotten in there, but yeah, so I'm seeing ethtool. Oh, maybe because I included the header. Why are all these new... Why would it add those new constants? So these are all things I want, all this ethtool stuff, but I don't understand why it added the other constants. Okay, so now we are ready for the Perl one-liner. Thank you, Flo. I appreciate that. Perl dash... Where is it? Newer kernel version. Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. So I guess maybe should I run this on... Should I run this on master? I feel like I should try and separate this change. The problem is that it takes forever to run this thing, even on my, you know, 3900X. Newer kernel... Wait, did we not regenerate the... I feel like we would have regenerated it if we had done kernel 510, though. Did we forget? Include Linux. User include Linux UAPI. Let's see, ethtool, ethtool.h. You can separate it after stream. Yeah, I'd rather just get it done, though. Let's see here. Whoa, holy crap. 1,000 bits. Large data bank. Give fake Amazon bucks to Dominic. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, bit leader right there. Holy cow. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good point about channel points. I wish I could use them for you to review this exercise. Yeah, totally. All you gotta do is get 5,000 channel points. 5,000 compilation errors. So much love today. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you all. It's kind of funny because whenever I stream on short notice, I'm always curious what the viewership is going to be like, and it's actually very good today. So this is awesome. Yeah, I feel like we should. I can run on master later, rebase my changes on top, and it should sort things. Okay, yes, I see what you're saying now. The problem is when I'm streaming sometimes is I don't always compute what people are telling me in chat. Where does this header live? Linux, user include Linux. Where is the ethtool? See, that's not the header I want. Whoa, 1,000 bits from Jackace. Hashtag come at me, bro. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate this. I win this. I win from this. This is all benefiting me. You know, because we got people having a contest over here. So I appreciate that. So this is the ethtool header. This is the old ioctl interface. So you'll see why I'm very excited to not have to use that. But why are my kernel sources not... Am I missing something? Like, do I need like the new kernel sources package or something on my Ubuntu machine? I guess I could just probably cheat and copy a raw version of this and then run the command, right? So if I do, for example, it's Linux. I'm gonna go to GitHub because I'm a cheater. I know GitHub better. Include UAPI. I think we're going to grab a raw copy of this really quick because I don't want to try and figure out where the header lives on my system. And that's a thing. ethtool. There we go. 4 months ago. Okay, so we're going to grab this and we're going to run this locally. So wget. Where's the hype train at? I should have hype trains turned on. I think I do. We need a PogChamp with Linus's face. Or Linus. Yeah, that'd be great. I agree. Wait, so what does ethtool do exactly? So that's a good question. I meant to talk about that, and I'm not sure I actually did. So if I SSH into my router and I run ethtool-s, ethtool-s emp1so. I think that actually might need a sudo. Yeah. So ethtool lets you see like the properties of like, you know, so stuff that you think about like above like the IP stack and stuff like that is all part of like route netlink and stuff. ethtool lets you see like the physical interface configuration. So stuff like the current mode, supported ports, whether or not it supports like auto negotiation of the current speed, you know, the different modes it supports like 10 base T, 1000 base T, etc. You can actually check for things here like, you know, the number of like CRC errors and stuff like that. So I essentially want to use this to build some kind of like, you know, physical link monitoring daemon, which I think will be very useful. So that is the goal for building this library, is to get this information as well as more. So actually, if I do sudo, I want to say it's -s. I'm pretty sure this will give me, hopefully this won't take out my stream. There's some command. Oh, -s changes. Yeah, I don't want to change. I probably shouldn't run commands that I don't know what they do. -S. I hate that stuff. This is what I wanted. Here we go. So you can see, for example, here, things like, you know, the number of packets in the transmission queues and stuff like that. There'll be something about, yeah, errors, right? Yeah. So I was having weird internet problems one time, and I took a look at this, and it's like, oh, CRC errors, like hundreds of thousands. So the cable was just messed up. So what I want to do now is write a daemon that can monitor for this, and then like get a bad cable and plug it in and like make sure it alerts, you know? So this is the kind of functionality we're going for here. Back to the Perl one-liner. Exporters for these would be really interesting, TBH. Yes, exactly. I will probably build an exporter of some sort. So user include. Oh no, we've actually got the ethtool netlink. Hey, let's go. That's perfect. So this one-liner looks like it will give us pretty much all we need. Why is it not sorted? That's strange. It looks like this isn't sorted either, though. So Prometheus endpoint kernel module when, yeah, I mean that could be a thing, right? But as far as putting an HTTP server, actually the HTTP server in the kernel probably not, but I think it would be interesting to have like a dev Prometheus, you know. You went to Linus's channel and no Pog emote. Sad. There was an AT&T router like that here in the Bay Area a few months ago, wreaking havoc on Bay Area. Yeah, totally. These are the kind of errors that slip by if you don't know. Yes, that's exactly it. So these are things I want to expose. And actually, this could potentially go in node exporter as long as it's not privileged, but we'll see. Temp. We are in Unix, so I just created a temp file with stuff. Here we go. Why are these not sorted? Like, I feel like it... Oh, maybe it is. Okay. Anyway. So now we go down to the very bottom of the file and add all this stuff. ethtool netlink interface generated using beauty. I will praise Perl for today. Awesome. Yeah, so that should work, right? Is that everything we need? So if we go back here, yeah, all this cable, UDP, yeah, I think this is all the constants. So we'll have we need the generic netlink name and the version as well. So as long as those are included, we should be good to go. And I think the other generator will get those. So we can finally run this one more time. And I believe now we're going to be done with this and we can move on to the library. So we're an hour into the stream and we haven't started writing the library yet. I guess we created the repo, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Hey, it's only got 1 star. I thought I said I need 100 stars by the end of the stream. It's all good. You were thinking no exporter as long as it isn't like the Wi-Fi module. Hey, don't talk smack. Yeah, the Wi-Fi module, I think the problem is with that. That was an overzealous attempt for me. That was my first like big contribution to Node Exporter. The problem is with the Wi-Fi module is that NL 802.11 and the Wi-Fi modes are way more complicated than I thought. So it's a thing. It works as long as you're on like a client machine, but it doesn't work for like APs or any of that stuff either. So frankly, I think it should be pulled out into its own exporter with lots of different modes. But weird. You can build a guest book in Rails in 20 minutes, but ethtool takes over an hour to get started. Go will never succeed. Yeah, right. To be fair, we're also talking about coffee and whiskey and tech and everything else and waiting for this program to run. So yeah, see, it's got to run again. So what are you going to do? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about from the stream last night. Coffee. Coffee's good. And booze. Yeah, exactly. Maybe I should have kept that one open. Medium roast or dark roast? Ooh, so I know this is like a heathen thing, but I personally have been drinking dark roast for a long time. I'm moving more towards medium. I don't usually care for light roast that much, but I'm trying to branch out because I know that I will like all of these things if I get used to them, you know? If those Ruby on Rails demos in TextMate were done on Twitch, they would be over an hour or two. Yeah, probably. The thing is with Twitch is that like it's not about coding as fast as possible, you know? For me, that's never what it's about. Like, we're going to do this today. We'll probably do like a 4-hour stream. We probably got, 3 more hours, and then we'll probably do a stream tomorrow too, So that'll be good. Espresso, French press, or cold brew. So I normally do cold brew. Today I did Chemex. So Chemex and cold brew are my 2 favorite modes. I also have an AeroPress. I have not used it in a while. I should try it with this though, because I think that'd be very good. Are those prices for half kilos? Let's see here. This is the one I just bought. So this is a 12-ounce bag. So 12 ounce, freedom units, 340 grams. So I think this is pretty on par for what I've seen in most places around here. And of course, like, I don't mind supporting a local business that I like, you know. What do we got? I love the strokes so much. I'm just over here jamming. I think it's good to see other devs not write code for 4 hours straight, like they don't ever have to think about things. Yeah, that's exactly it too. Like, once we get it going on the Netlink stuff, it'll go pretty quick, I think, just because I know what I'm doing and I wrote the library. But me and Large Databank paid for that coffee. Hey, you did. Thank you. I appreciate that. Although, I actually don't know how it works for bits. So since you pay Twitch a tax on bits up front, does the streamer get all of the profit from bits? I'm not sure. That's a good question. Large Databank might actually know that, but I don't know if I've ever. Maybe I've gotten like one payout from Twitch so far. I think it's like once a quarter or something, right? I forget exactly, but you get 1 US cent per bit. The viewer had to pay greater than 1 cent per bit. Yeah, exactly. And the more bits you buy, the bigger discount you get. So I'll usually spend like $100 on my account at a time, just for TTS shit posting, you know. So once we have these constants, we can actually open up a CL, and that'll be good. Should I log into Garrett? That's a thing. I'm a little afraid to do my Google two-factor auth on. I guess I could hide the screen. I don't remember exactly what all it takes. So, yeah, one sec. Yeah, so we're gonna do this. I'll log into Garrett on stream, but we're gonna hide it really quick because I don't know what all this is gonna prompt me for. You don't have to do Garrett on stream. Yeah, but it's more fun this way. I mean, yeah, okay, so I had to do two-factor. Okay, so I had to do the UB key. Yeah, fun. I'm gonna ask again. That's probably gonna prompt my phone. No, okay, we're into Garrett. Cool. All right, that was easy enough. So I had to do my UB key, which is part of my stream checklist anyway, so it was already ready to go. Yes, we're gonna submit a CL here, and then we will get it reviewed. And actually, if anybody here has, does anybody here have +2? Maybe Dimitri is watching today. Dimitri or Garrett can use the UB key. So the Google Auth can use the UB key. Yeah, let's see here. So I don't see Dimitri in chat at the moment. So I'm not sure if anybody else has +2. That's okay. I'll just tag Ian and Brad and the usual folks. Oh, so Dominic has +2, but he's on his gaming OS right now, so no can do. Yeah, no worries. I think probably what I'll do now is I'll do like a local go mod replace. So this should be about done. We'll open the Garrett CL. I'll justify it, and then we will do whatever. I should probably request +2. Yeah, I mean, if you have a history of submitting good changes, then +2 is not out of the question. But yeah, you just have to kind of like show that, like, you know, you have a history of making good contributions and you're not going to be malicious. So I probably don't. Yeah, I mean, you can judge that, you know. Another one is you can request access to the issue tracker. So when people file like really obvious problems, like with their own system, you can just close their issues, which is what I do a lot. You know, I don't like Golang. Golang, it doesn't have generics. Close. Dominic got his +2 running E-list. The bar wasn't high back then. Yeah. I got +2. I think I was probably contributing for about a year in various forms, like especially the XNet, XSys stuff. But yeah, I've had +2 for a while, but I can't +2 my own code, so that's a thing. By the way, +2 in Garrett / Go project terminology means that you're able to submit code to the project. So I have +2. I'm not sure if and Dominic does, but he says he's not in his right OS. But generally, you let the maintainer of the repo do +2. So maybe Tobias will be around today, Tobias or Brad or Ian, depending on who's around. But also, it's a Saturday, so I don't really have any expectations. And as I said, we can submit this and then use like a local Go mod replace for the time being, and that'll be fine. I just can't necessarily push the code upstream or it might be broken. But come on. Yeah, this takes a while. I wonder if you could parallelize this process right here as far as generating the files for each different architecture using QEMU, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we looked at coffee. What else do we need to talk about today? Hey, 2 stars, come on. I'm going to get a kick out of that all day. Oh, so you can specify a nested attribute with a common header. You can specify, okay, the index, the name, or the flags. Some request global string sets. Interesting. So if we want to look up a specific interface, we can do it by index or by device name. Okay. That's cool. It lets you do both. So I rebuilt my het server faster than it takes to set up this project even. Wonderful magic of NixOS. Yeah, NixOS is pretty cool, for sure. Yeah, I'm going slow today. It's taken, well, I mean, it's just taking a while to run this stuff, you know. I think it's like the third time we've run this, and it just takes a while, but that's okay. I'll survive. Yeah, but we'll get this submitted upstream, and then I'll get +2 probably the next couple days, and then we'll have a working project, so that'll be nice. In the meantime, we can keep reading about this. So if we want to identify certain devices by the index or the name, this flags thing, what's that? So let's see here. Compact bit sets. Oh boy. Why does it have an optional compact format? I don't know if I like that. Omit reply for set and action. Oh, okay. So no, I kind of want the reply. I usually like to have the Netlink reply so that tells you like, yeah, got it versus some error. Flag stats. Include optional device statistics. Okay. Short bitmaps. NLA bitfield 32 type. Oh, fun. For arbitrary length, uses a nested attribute with contents of 1 of 2 forms, compact, and bit by bit. Really? This is a thing. Sending symbolic names for bits together with their values, which saves a round trip, or at least a second request. Long-running applications like ethtool monitor or network management daemons may prefer fetching the names only once and using the compact form to save message size. Notifications always use the compact form. Okay, this is something we're going to have to learn about, it looks like. This is something new to me. Maybe today I'll snapshot my SmartOS machine so I can rebuild my Hester install. Yeah, do it. This might be a stupid question, but is there a proper, smart, idiomatic way around the following problem? If you have code related to my package in foo and everything related to tests in foo test, have some bar.go with a bar test that uses a var example and some tests. Or I also want to use an example, but of course I don't want the one from bar test because the reader wouldn't know where it came from. But if I declare it, I'm not entirely sure I follow, but there is something you can do. You can actually export something only for tests. So if you do like a underscore test file in the same package, you can actually export something for use in the package underscore test stuff. I'm not sure I entirely follow, but also if you're testing something outside the API of your package and you find yourself reaching for it, then you may consider that like you just need to export that thing and just make your life easier. I generally will do the underscore test packages as well because I think it's better to test your exported API. But that being said, it's kind of a case-by-case basis. Like if I have a very complicated internal function for like filtering or something, I'll usually test inside the package too. Yeah, I'm having a hard time following exactly what you're asking. But like I said, I wouldn't be afraid to export something if you think it's going to be useful for callers anyway. Okay, this is almost done. You know, I wonder how much slower this is because I'm streaming. Yeah, we're not using that much CPU. Anyway. Okay. Probably not much slower. Okay, so now we've got all these. So that's good. MDL ethtool. Uh-oh. Ethtool netlink and temp, we can move those files. So git code review change, right? Yes. Let's see here. So we under sys Unix? No, Unix, right? Unix add ethtool netlink constants. How do I I guess you also have to add NLA bitfield 32 to Netlink. Yeah, that's a new thing to me as well. We could potentially add that upstream, or if it's just like a uint32, we could just use uint32. Like, I'm not sure exactly what that type is. That's something new to me. But yes, we can add that if we need to. Add ethtool netlink constants for Linux. Ethtool generic netlink. For more information about this interface, see. Okay. Yeah, and so what were we were talking about the, let's run this on master because yeah, I'm curious why usually whenever we update the Go version and stuff, like somebody will rerun this. So I guess it's just possible they forgot, but I don't understand why this would add new constants otherwise. It's probably not that big of a deal, but you'll try to be more clear. It's example data for a bunch of tests. A timestamp for a string that I'll use. Oh, so you could do an example bar timestamp, example what timestamp, but I was wondering if there's a smarter way. Yeah, so sometimes what I'll do in that case is I'll make an internal package. Like I have like internal CR test for like corrad test, and then CR test.timestamp, CR test.must parse IP. So you could basically just make an entirely new package that's internal only, and if you find yourself using that in several different packages, that's probably the way to go. So I thought you were talking about, like, for example, exporting certain functions just in tests. The bit field seems to be a struct. Interesting. So we should be able to handle it, but yeah, the question is whether or not we need a helper for it. Value selector. Interesting. So it's a 64-bit structure. This is fun. Yeah, I suspect probably if this, we are selecting bit 1 and we want to set its value to 0. We are selecting bit 2 and we want to set its value to 1. Excuse me? How do you get value equals 1 when the value and selector are both 2? Yeah, we'll probably add some functionality upstream with the Netlink package for this if it's confusing enough. Like, we can make a function that has the value in the selector fields or something, but I'll have to just play with it and see what it actually looks like in practice. So we're running the generator again because I want to figure out what's going on with these upstream types. But in the meantime, we can do, let's see. So we can start using our Go mod, and we can actually start writing a little bit of code as well, which should be good. So we'll call this client. I usually like creating client types. So package ethtool. Type client struct. And again, we're going to use the devlink model probably. So let's see here. Func new. Opens a client, returns an error, return something like that. And we're going to put all of these behind build tags because we need the ability to needs to go behind build tags because we need the ability to swap the implementation because the different files are going to need to use operating system specific constants, right? So we'll go ahead and do client linux.go package ethtool. Good old build tags in here. New client. I don't know if this is going to have parameters or not. I suspect not, but actually, usually what I'll end up doing here is having something like, we'll make an OS-specific client type here. Client is the Linux implementation backing a client. Right. And this actually does the generic netlink dialing and such, so we need to go back and get the devlink stuff because I want to see what I was doing there again. Devlink. As a reference. JV Pratt, howdy. Hey, welcome. Thanks for hanging out in the stream last night. Appreciate that. Hope you had a good time. And yeah, thanks for stopping by today too. So we're going to dial a generic netlink connection. Yep. And then we need to essentially do the same logic, yeah, as far as fetching the family name, making sure it exists. Yeah. And then I have this init client broken out separately because I use this for writing tests. Client C. Hello? Ah, okay, I see. Let's see here. So the C error. The error is not equal to nil. We force the netlink connection closed at this point because we need to keep it open otherwise, and then we return the client with our underlying client wrapped inside of it, right? So the operating system specific client. Okay. And of course, we're going to make it so this builds on all platforms. So we're going to just basically copy this API and the few pieces we need and make it so that on things like Mac and Windows, it just returns like a no-op or something that will always return an error, rather. Is the generator still running, I wonder? We're going to want close, yeah, for sure. So get family. Undeclared name C. So we do store the generic netlink connection. We need that. So ge netlink con, and then the family we need as well because that is the value we use to signal to the kernel. It's not devlink, we need ethtool genl name. So that will be useful for us. We need to see where the code generator is at. Still going. Okay. So we initialize the client. We close the connection on an error. Yep. Okay. So we get the family. And when we get the family, we get back a uint16 value that we can use to speak to the generic netlink controller and tell it that we were talking to the ethtool family, right? Close. Yep. So we close the underlying connection. Yes. Okay. That's all good so far. What else do we want? Yeah. Basically, yeah, I'll end up creating some kind of helper here that populates the correct flags and the family ID. Yeah, so we'll end up copying this code as well. The thing is like once you've written one of these, like I think I've done this like a bunch of times now, so it ends up just being more useful to copy and paste certain things. We always set Netlink Request because we need that in all of our requests. We get back a series of generic Netlink messages. This is going to be ethtool once again, so the generic Netlink version for the ethtool family is going to be version 1, and in case they ever add a version 2, this library will be hard-coded for version 1, so we'd have to update that. So C family. Oh, why do we store the... We do store the family. Why is that an invalid type? I think there might be some go please shenanigans going on here, so we might just want to... Oops. Hang on. ethtool. That looks right to me. Probably going to close and reload really quick. We still going? Yeah, still going. Okay. Sometimes with like build tags and stuff, it'll get a little hung up. Oh, okay, there we go. Unix ethtool, yeah, those are not defined, right? We know that. So this is not a uint16. It's actually going to be a ge netlink family. Do we care about the... I don't think we actually care about the ID version name groups. We don't really need any of those. I think we can actually just take the uint16. So family ID. Yep. These will be available pretty soon here. See family ID. Okay. Closes the underlying generic netlink connection. New client opens a generic netlink connection to the ethtool family. Still going? Still going. Wow. Takes a while. Yeah, so we have new now, and then we can actually start exposing the top level like facade as well. So for example, there's going to be a close function for sure to control the life cycle of the client. Close closes the underlying generic netlink connection. I guess that's still technically true. Close cleans up the client's resources more generally. You call the underlying client's closed. We could embed, but I find embedding tends to get you in more trouble than it's worth for saving a little bit of typing, so we're not going to embed. New creates a client which can manipulate, which can issue ethtool commands. Okay. Still need that still going. Okay. So I think for the time being, we can just hard code those if this is going to keep, it's going to keep us waiting. But otherwise, we can copy. Is there anything else we need to copy? Yeah, this parsing stuff, this is pretty much what all of these end up looking like, is you parse through a slice of messages, iterate, so we'll copy some of this as well. I've done this so many times now that it's kind of funny how often you end up with like the exact same patterns, but it works, you know? So we're going to get some kind of underlying structure from the kernel, or like some kind of like series of netlink messages, and then we parse those out into an individual structure, which is more high level thing. So this isn't going to be ports, it's going to be something else. So no response found. I think for the time being, we're just going to make it so this compiles and just gets out of our way. But we switch on the type, default, empty switch, create a port or whatever, check the error of every attribute. So we decode the attributes, we iterate through them, and then whenever this type switch, or whenever the iteration stops, we check for the error, and if it's successful, we add it to the slice, and we move on. So for every message, we assume that we're also going to get a new type. Hey, Dotwaffle, welcome. Thank you for the sub for 8 months. That is awesome. Woo, more Netlink, and no more need to parse proc for interface data. Double woohoo. Nice. Yeah. Yep, I agree with you there. Pretty happy about this. So probably the first action we're going to get is something like a, this is the wrong file, ethtool link settings. So message link info get, link state, debugging, wake on LAN. This is a lot of different stuff. Quite a few commands here. Yeah, let's try something like the link info get, right? So I'm not sure what a string set is yet. I'm going to need to read these docs, but I am trying not to read a bunch of docs on stream. Client. Link settings. And for now, something like the following. This is going to be messages error C execute. So we're going to execute the command, which is this Unix ethtool message link info get. As far as flags, we're already specifying the request flag. It mentioned something about extended acknowledge. We need to figure that out. So extended, yeah. Extended act for error and warning reporting, or encouraged to make these messages available to the user. So I guess what we'll do is we'll pass netlink acknowledge, which should give us the information back that we are seeing here. Or an error. And then what we're going to do is we're going to dump these messages to the screen because that makes things easy. So now, wrong project. I think we're done with devlink. Astronomicon, thank you for this. I almost said thank you for the sub. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Hello. Hey, how's it going? So we've got spew now. So yeah, we're just waiting still on the Unix stuff. Okay, so this is not. Yeah, that's really. Why would it on master not? That seems strange. So we ran this on master with the exact same settings. Now we get different constants for some reason. I guess I could just open the CL anyway and see if anybody knows. Like, I'm not really sure what's going on in that case. So git code review mail. So we'll have a new CL coming up here. You have a question? Yeah, go ahead. Feel free. If it's about Go or Linuxy stuff, I'm more likely to have an answer. How to clear a backdoor that even when resetting CMOS doesn't work? You might be out of luck. Sometimes you can pull, like, on motherboards, you can pull, like, the CMOS battery and, like, you know, make it forget those things and stuff. But I assume you're talking about, like, a motherboard or something. But, yeah, I have no idea. Sorry. Not my area of expertise. Yeah, so we got new constants. Yeah, it's not clear to me why the other ones were added as well. IPv6 flow, IPv6 user flow. We'll run the tribats. We'll add the reviewers, Ian, Brad, and Tobias. It isn't clear to me why some unrelated constants were added since, let's see here, since they don't appear on master. So I assume it may have something. Does this import ethtool netlink.h? Maybe it's from ethtool.h. Maybe this import makes it add those other things. It has something to do with this new header importing, which transitively imports more files that we didn't already have in the list. It's my guess anyway, right? So like if I'm importing ethtool netlink and ethtool netlink is importing ethtool.h, presumably ethtool.h probably is pretty old and has its fingers in kind of everywhere. So we're going to run the trybots and we will see what happens. This should be fine, but if anybody wants to follow along, or if anybody's got +2, if anybody has +2, that'd be helpful. Cool. So that has been added. So now at this point, we are going to use this locally with Go module stuff, but we want these constants to go upstream because that way other people who are ever using this could use this too, even though they probably shouldn't. You're not going to +2 a change with dubious new constants. Yeah, that's fair. I guess I don't know how dubious they are. Like, it seems like they're, we generally don't mind adding constants and stuff, but it just does seem strange that there's some of these new ones that you've never seen before. Like I said, I think it's a transitive. Yeah, wake magic. Yeah, I think this must be like a transitive import thing from ethtool. Transitive? Is that the correct terminology here? I think it is. You're assuming there's no licensing constraint there. It's just a list of facts and therefore technically not copyrightable. Oh, you mean as far as like importing the constants? Yeah. I mean, this is something we've been doing for ages, so I don't think there would be any licensing concerns. Yeah. It's just basically what it's doing is it's importing the constants and then just generating them at compile time or, before compile time. If the kernel API said copyright, there'd be no non-GPL software on Linux. Yeah, I suppose that's true. So inside the kernel, like they have certain symbols and everything you can only use with GPL, right? But outside, I think you're good to use like whatever. So, yeah. So what we need to do now is do a go mod replace. So replace. How does this work? Nope. With home at sourcegolang.org xsys. I think that'll work. Uh-oh. ethtool flag omit. Did it really duplicate? Hang on. That's failed on Linux AMD64. Yeah. Huh. ethtool flag omit reply redeclared in this block. I thought it would dedupe the constants, actually. That's strange. You're too used to being beaten with a hammer over considering licensing of source material, overly paranoid. Yeah, I can understand that, though. That's probably for good reason. Flag omits reply. Yeah, so these are already declared somewhere. Z errors Linux 543, 544. So that's the big. Hang on a sec. ethtool omit reply. Did I spell that wrong? Flag. Linux types. Oh, shoot. Is already. Hang on. ethtool flag omit. I don't understand why that would show up twice then. Right? Oh, it's because it's in the errors file and the types file. Interesting. By the way, say hello to, I believe it's pronounced Job. Next week when he starts, he's a good chappy. I think he got on really well with. Yeah, I saw he was joining Fastly. It's very cool. I'm not too familiar with his work, but I understand he's somebody who's been in the networking field for a long time. So yeah, I'm very excited to get to meet him. ethtool. Yeah, so why? This is getting duplicated because we have both the... It's being imported... Some of these things being imported as errors. So flag, omit, reply. I think we might need to cherry pick a couple of these constants out. Flag... Oops. Flag, omit. Yeah, so this looks like this appears twice. Flag all, flag stats, flag omit reply. So flag all, hang on, flag omit. So these are duplicated. Note that a couple of constants here produced by this, produced by this command will be duplicated by make errors.sh, so some manual pruning was necessary. I think that'll fix it. So if I run this one more time, should be good to go. The second one's just a bitwise OR of the flags. No. You mean like this? Yeah. One sec. Won't this break next time people generate the constants? No, it will not, because I removed them from... I generated this list with the Perl regex here, or the Perl thing here, and then I just removed the constants from the list manually. So it's just a slight modification to the Perl output and not to the code generator output. So I'm running the generator again now, and I believe that'll fix it. But the bad thing is we have to let the generator run again, which, you know, takes a little bit. But I believe we should be able to get this building now, right? No, maybe not quite. Yeah, we don't need devlink anymore. So if we go back to my ethtool stuff, go build. Oh, it's in the middle of, yeah. So now we have to wait. Just want to get stuff done, man. I really need to stop having Thunderbird open on stream. That is a thing that could get me in trouble one of these days. I always forget. Okay, yeah, I can close this out for now. Anyway. I should add that to my stream checklist. Close Thunderbird. The pre-flight stream checklist. Nothing to see here. It's actually out. It's open source anyway. But with the breakfast food, I don't see why the constants get duplicated. I think it's because the make errors script is importing... The make errors script is importing... What do you call it? It's getting some of the constants as is, and the Perl regex is picking up the same things. So it was just showing up. It was showing up in makeerrors.sh and the types file. So as a result, it gets put in there twice. That's my intuition anyway. Let's see here. Let's see. Disable notifications. Close Thunderbird. There we go. I really, I use Thunderbird because it's nice just to manage like 4 different inboxes, but it's not a great... Oh, calling you. Hey, there we go. I have no notification shut off, so I'm not sure how that happened, but I will call my friend back. How did that show up? I don't have the... Is that the Hangouts thing in Chrome? How is that bypassing the... Hang on. Yeah, I'm on Do Not Disturb. I have no idea how that showed up. Let me message my friend really quick. It's kind of funny. You've got those certain friends who always like to call instead of messaging, and like that's cool. I actually don't mind phone calls that much. I hate business phone calls, but when it's a friend, I don't care at all, But if there's something that I need to do, like call customer service, like I just dread it the entire time. Like I'm gonna read out some number over the phone, they're gonna get it wrong, they're gonna hear me wrong, the address, whatever else. Okay. Let's see here. If you call me, you ain't my friend. Let's see, it's 4:30, so we'll probably go until like 7 today. 7? Yeah, 2.5 hours from now, probably 7. That's Hangouts usually uses your system notifications. Yeah, so it is, but I have like you can actually see the little gnome do not disturb bell. So I'm confused as to how that bypassed that, but anyway, don't use my friend's phone number for evil, please. Uh-oh. Still waiting for the code generator, aren't we? Yep. Takes a while. Calling maybe uses a different path for high priority. Yeah, I guess that's possible. Do I have the Hangouts extension? I think I probably do. It's kind of funny because I just don't even like think about these things. Yeah, Google Hangouts. Okay, let's see here. There are no options for Hangouts. It's just a thing that exists. Oh, here we go. Hang on. The thing with having 3 monitors is you're never sure where any window's going to show up. So I'm always like hesitant to put things on stream. But let's see here. Oh, so there's a separate mute notifications for Hangouts. Really? Why doesn't it just use my system notifications, man? That's annoying. All right. Well, my notifications are now muted for 4 hours. So on Hangouts specifically, apparently that's a thing you have to think about. Don't worry, my streamer-friendly window manager will not place new windows on the stream. Yeah, that'd be great. It's a cool idea. I know, like, M. Dembski uses like a totally separate account for his stream and everything, which is not a bad idea, but I feel like it would drive me crazy having to keep my VS Code settings and everything all up to date, Yeah, we are still waiting. Wow. Okay. AMA, go. If there's any questions that I didn't get to last night, there was the one about the whiskey. I did answer that now. If you have any questions, ask them. We got to kill time. NixOS and the desktop do it. Yeah, maybe eventually. I think the problem is I'm worried about like running into like some software it's only a deb and then having like a nightmare scenario trying to get it working, and I don't know. It ends up just being easier for me a lot of the time to run Ubuntu LTS and not worry about it, Maybe I'll try it on like my laptop before my desktop, because my laptop, can be kind of broken and it's whatever. But my desktop, I pretty much need this to work. It builds character. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Character, for some definition of character. I could have sworn. Upgrade. Upgrade. I thought I tagged GE Netlink 1.1 or something. Doesn't seem right. There's only a 1.0. Could be wrong. There's only a 1.0. Huh. Okay. Well, interesting. Should be okay, I guess. Yeah, this library doesn't really need to change because the APIs and stuff are just pretty much done. But the GE Netlink, the GE Netlink stuff doesn't really need to change, but the underlying Netlink library has changed quite a bit, actually. We're on version 1.2 now, and it's actually should be pretty fast, which is good. Of course, there's always room for improvement. I did not design it in such a way where it would be incredibly high performance, zero allocation, whatever, because I just didn't care. But there are people who are trying to do those things, and I want to work with them to make it fast. So if you are one of those people, then you should file issues. Well, first try version 1.2.0, but second, file issues, benchmarks, etc. That will really help me. So still waiting. How fun. So we want to look at the... Keep that open for a little while, I guess. Yeah, I'll fix that. Extended eck. We're going to have to play with that and see what the difference is. Looks like this Netlink family, I'm glad it's documented. This is going to be really helpful for me, but it looks like it is more complex than I expected, which is, you know, a good challenge. Should be fun. Yeah, so we're going to try the link info first, and then see how far we get today. I think probably where we'll get is we'll get like maybe 1 or 2 of these messages types done, and then continue building out the other ones. But link info get. Ah, this is actually the exact one we're implementing. So does not use any attributes. So we need to get the link info by the device, or I guess presumably if we specify netlink dump, it'll probably give us all of the link info. Request header, a link info header. Oh, that's right. This has like a request header thing, doesn't it? So it's going to eval me probably. So I'm going to have to figure out, let's see here, request header. I need to be going upwards, not down. There was something in here about the request header, and I want to figure that out. Here we go. Yeah. Contains a nested attribute with a common header. Okay, so there's always going to be an attribute set with index name or flags, right? Was that a Star Wars Episode 3 reference? No. I'm not even sure what I said. I'm not that much of a Star Wars fan. Like, it's fine. I think if I had to pick, I would be more of a Trek guy. But Star Wars is cool. That's whatever. Yeah, it's still running. Still going. Still running. Let's see. Oh, YouTube video. I don't want to open a YouTube video on stream. I don't want to get DMCA'd. I'll take your word for it. Oh, did my playlist run out? What's up, Spotify? There we go. No, it's just quiet at the end of the song. Okay. Good to go. Yeah, sorry, I didn't think about that. Oh, no worries. Yeah. Thanks for posting links and stuff, but yeah, I just, yeah. I'm trying to play by the rules, you know? But the nice thing is, like, as I've mentioned a few times before, like, some people are like, oh, you should play music on stream where we can't hear your music. But the thing is that, like, it's very much on purpose, because this way, people who want to listen to their own music can, or people who, you know, in whatever other scenario, like, if you want to just listen to the silence, you're not distracted by my music either. So I think it's cool. I know, like, Jordan, for example, our large data bank has, like, a stream-friendly playlist, like, some kind of, like, copyright-free or, you know, music that's permissible on Twitch, which is a cool idea. But I personally just would rather let the viewer pick their own, you know? Okay, we are finally done with that madness. There we go. Code. Oops, change. There we go. Mail. Yep. These are the Git code review stuff is like these little Garrett specific helpers that help with all the whatever. Okay, I think that ought to fix it. Run the try bots, please. I know there's a flag you can specify to do that too with the git code review command. I'm just lazy. Okay, so now we should be pretty close to that. And actually, now the library should build, right? So there we go. Okay, so we are getting to the point now where we can actually start poking at the kernel, which is great. So command nl ethtool main.go. Literally, dash trybot's easier than clicking on buttons. Yeah, I know. I just forget about it, you know. Oops. Ethtool new. Failed to open client. Defer C close. And then if error C link info. I want to be able to dump the information about every link, but I'm not sure if that's... It doesn't seem like that's possible. It seems like it wants you to specify a link name or link index no matter what. So you might have to do that with like net interfaces and then iterate. And that's okay, but log fatal F failed to get link info. Okay. What do you mean? Come on. It's in the same Go module. It should work fine. Oh. Okay. See, client, link info, error, turn, CC, link info. Oh, link settings. What did we... Hang on. So we're going to do link settings. No, I want to do whichever one is the easiest. So link info. Oh, did I just spell it wrong? Or did I just mistype it? Let's see here. Client, link settings, link info. I don't know where I got settings from. I think I was reading something else probably at the time. Okay. So failed to get link info, netlink receive e-inval. Okay, that's exactly what I would expect, actually. So it wants us to specify an interface. So I don't really want to make two versions of these functions for the interface index versus the name, but I might have to. It's a bit of a nuisance. So I guess I can make it so you have to pass a net interface handle, because presumably you'd be using this with something as the output of net interface, but then that doesn't really make sense. I guess for now we could assume it's the index or the name. We just pick one, but we need to support both. And I don't really want to do link info by index by name. I guess I could, but what do you all think? For the time being, I guess we're gonna do the index, but I'm not thrilled about it either. And then we have the request header, which is going to be a set of netlink attributes. So what we're going to need here is our execute function is going to have to also accept netlink attributes. And then within this netlink attributes, we have the type length and value. So length type value. Length will be automatically populated if I marshal the attributes to binary. Normally, I would use the attribute encoder type for this, but in this particular circumstance, it's probably easier to do. Let's see here. So type. We have the request header stuff. So we need to specify device index, which is a U32. Value nlenc uint32. Uint32 bytes. Yeah, this is going to allocate like crazy too. We can make this better, but I wanted to get this working too. Data. Why did I call it value? Does Netlink call it data? I forget. Uint32. Okay. So now every one of these requests has the header as well. So we have to marshal this. So bytes error netlink marshal attributes, and this will actually populate the type field for us, which is good. If error done. The request header has to go within the GE netlink message body, right? Yeah. Because we have the netlink message, which is wrapped, or the generic netlink message is wrapped by the netlink message, but inside of the generic netlink message, we need the header for the ethtool request. So data, I think that'll do it, actually. Not enough arguments. We need a link. Okay, IPL. Yes. Really? Okay. ENP, which one of these is my 10 gig NIC? That'll be more interesting. Is that 5 or is that 4? I think it's 4. So that would be index 3. Okay. Come on, client. Right, the wrapper. Index int. Okay. Failed to receive invalid argument. Something's still not quite right. We are passing the command as part of the generic netlink header, and the version is ethtool version 1, generic netlink message, header, data. The data is a set of nested netlink attributes. A nested attribute with a common header. I could set up a dummy interface for testing via RT netlink. Yeah, I could do that. We might do that for, the problem is I don't think ethtool recognizes dummy interfaces. Like I think we actually need an Ethernet device. But that could work too. If both are used, they must identify the same device. Some requests. So we're passing. Actually got a little bit of a trick here. We can do this. Yeah. It's actually giving us back a bunch of data and then an e-inval. JB Pratt, welcome. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Welcome to the crew. Enjoy my artisanal hand-drawn emotes. They're pretty funny. I want to get a friend who is an artist to make me some real emotes, but my hand-drawn ones are pretty good for the time being, you know. Silly stuff. So we're getting a bunch of data back from Netlink here. Oh, you know what that is? That's the generic Netlink stuff. That's the generic Netlink header. So what we want instead is we want this. So is this where we want the extended eck stuff? So if I do, for example, C set option Netlink extended true, will this give us more information? What does this give us? The same things. E-inval. So this isn't happy at the moment. We're missing something. Link info get. Request contents link. Oh shit! You know what it is? So it wants the. It literally wants you to create nested attributes. That's so. So you create. Okay, I see what's going on, but I don't. That's kind of weird. I mean, it's fine, I guess, but it's a little bit of a strange design decision to me. So I guess what we'll do here is we're gonna need a bit more flexibility than just a set of concrete attributes. Probably what we'll do is we'll make it so there's like some smart version of this thing that like allocates this all at once instead of doing this way. But what we're gonna do instead right now is pass an attribute encoder. Netlink attribute encoder. And then we have the request header is going to be the encoded version of AE. So now, instead of passing these attributes directly, we're going to pass an attribute encoder. New attribute encoder, AE nested. So this is going to be the Netlink or ethtool A link info header. And then within the nested context, we do uint32 of the interface index. That's kind of strange. Like, I guess I appreciate the flexibility, but it frankly doesn't seem necessary to have that additional outside wrapper because you've already got a set of Netlink attributes. So why create an attribute set and then have a nested set immediately? I guess it's possible they could add like a new header in the future and they want to have those separated. So that's potentially a good design, but it's something I've never seen before. So the nested attribute encoder uint32 of the interface index. Yep. uint32. Turn nil. So what we have now is we're creating a netlink attribute encoder. We are immediately creating a nested set of attributes with this link info header, and then we're populating the header as requested by the API, which in this particular case is going to be this header device index, although it could also be the device name or this flags thing. So I think this will actually work now. There we go. Yeah, so you can actually see this, this works. So we got a message back about ENP4S0 and then some binary stuff. So we have our first successful ethtool netlink request. Pretty cool, huh? Of course, as mentioned, I think there's room for probably improvement here, especially with regards to like the efficiency of this. Probably what we could do is calculate this once and then right? Probably what we could do here is calculate this once, like, and create a byte slice here, and then just like plop in the value as a uint32 instead of having to allocate, because this allocates nothing. Well, as to fetch the endianness. So I wonder if I could like memoize this. I probably should, maybe. Because right now, every time you create an attribute encoder, it's going to do this endianness check, which is silly. Why did I do it that way? Well, it's benchmark. Anyway, so we create the attribute encoder, and then when you do this called the nested, it's going to allocate a byte slice and a new attribute encoder and do the same. Like, this ends up being like a fair bit of work for what is effectively creating like a slice with an index, the index at like a fixed length. So this could be optimized for sure. To do MD layer, make this faster by, see here. Couldn't the endiness just be at compile time since it's only ever going to be used locally on one host? Yes, that's correct. And actually, that's something that I probably should be. I know Josh Arian, so Josh Bleecker Snyder has a package that does exactly that, and I should just be using that instead. Native? Or is it Endian? Oh, it is native, yeah. Native by order, yeah, exactly. So I should just use this package because this is going to make it so it's compile time instead of doing my unsafe check. So that's something we could do. To do MD layer, make this faster by potentially pre-computing the byte slice of packed netlink attributes and then modifying the index value at the appropriate byte slice index. So then we allocate the buffer once and we just modify the value in place instead of doing a couple of allocations and stuff here. So not that big of a deal, but that's small enough now where I can one-line that again. And then, of course, you can make it so this can be done by string as well. So I guess maybe it feels kind of silly to have two versions of the same call for index and string, but I can't think of any other way that I would like this, right? Because if I were to do this so that you could pass index or string, well, I mean, I guess that works. It said that if the API accepts both, one of them is sufficient, but if both are used, they must identify the same device. So I guess if the caller cares, they could pass both. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure. Since Go doesn't have like optional parameters, or I guess I can make it so that you can like have a struct here where you pass one or the other one or something, but then you have to allocate a struct every time, which is kind of a nuisance as well. Yeah, I'm just not sure how to feel about it. I think we're gonna leave this as a to-do. Like, we have a couple of different options here, right? So we can do either like, you know, to-do MD layer. Let's just write it out. Figure out how to appropriately expose the index interface index versus name in APIs. Some options include, for example, link info, index, int, name, string. Except both either can be 0, but if both are set, then both are passed. The API will validate them. Link info by index. I think this is the pattern the standard library uses. Link info by name. String. More explicit, but creates more API surface and noise. Indexes don't change, so presumably just have a name version that calls the same function with an index lookup. Yeah, but then the problem is that like if I don't really want to do like lookups in here. Like I don't want to call like net interface by index in here because then there might be an expensive like route netlink call in the middle of the library and stuff. And I'd rather assume that the caller got this information from somewhere, and I don't really care. But I'd rather not do any lookups on my own, I think. Link info type. Maybe something like this, like a struct. Name. Except a struct which can have one or both set and doesn't need 0 value checks. That third option is pretty interesting to me. That's the one that kind of appeals because I could do like, do ethtool request index, ethtool request name. And I could add things in there like the extended stats too. Like, cause what is it? This supports header flags. Flags count for all requests. So like, for example, if you want like extended device stats or something, but I think that probably I'll just hard code this on in the library. I don't see why you'd want to turn that off. I don't know. Are you creating a higher level API that can try separating between control messages and data plane messages? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by control messages and data plane in this particular circumstance. So effectively what I'm doing here is I'm controlling the ethtool Netlink API. So this is all, you could think this is like control planes. This is controlling the physical Ethernet device, but it has nothing to do with the data plane. Like this is not about like frame forwarding at all or anything at all. If I understand what you're asking, feel free to, or please feel free to clarify. I apologize if I misunderstood. This is very much the gRPC v3 optional or one of conundrum. Yeah. Since Go doesn't have like optional parameters here, this is what we're stuck with a little bit. I kind of like option 3 here with the request struct, but then the problem is that each call becomes more verbose. But oh, you thought it was both? Okay, yeah. No, as far as I know, this has nothing to do with the data plane. Like this would actually, you could configure like, for example, I could set my Ethernet interface down to like 10 megabit, but it doesn't actually get into the frame forwarding path at all, as far as I know. I kind of like this option, but we're gonna have to play with this. Gotta go enjoy the rest of the stream. Hey, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that, and take care. What about using options? Oh, you mean like functional options? I go back and forth about functional options, but I think that these days I prefer a struct because structs just kind of document better. And in this case, like if you specify a link info with neither, then it's just an obvious invalid request. But I guess you'd have the same problem with the struct with the empty struct, right? So we can write that down too. Link info options option. Functional options has basically a slight variation, of the. That is an option though. You are right. That's something I could consider as well. Yeah, I tend to stay away from those these days unless you have like a really complicated API, and even then, I try to mostly make it so you just have like a request struct or something you can build upon. So. If we don't pass acknowledge here, actually, hang on. We set the extended acknowledge, didn't we? What happens if we don't pass that? I'm curious if the byte dump is any different. No different in this case. Okay, so maybe this uses it just for certain error reporting. To do MD layer, look into what exactly the ethtool interface does with extended acknowledge. Oh god, that's horrible. I reflowed the code there really quick and there we go. Yeah, functional options are an interesting idea. I don't know how I feel about it yet. You know what's so funny? I did not realize this until I started streaming, but watching my videos, I didn't realize that like when I'm thinking, I often have my hand on my face. Like, during COVID times, like it's like don't touch your face. I mean, I'm here at home, so it's like I wash my hands and stuff, but I didn't realize how often I do this. Like if I'm sitting here just like thinking, I'm always like my left hand, And I wonder if it's like distracting for people or something, but I don't think it's a habit I can break. Okay. We're getting somewhere. So this has presumably nested netlink attributes. So actually we can, let's see here. AD, right? So we'll call this parse ports thing. We'll parse, I mean, these aren't ports, but colon equals parse ports. This is a function we stole from my other package. Is the extended acknowledgement thing to do with more verbose error reporting? That's my understanding, but I'm not sure. Well, hang on. If we do this, what happens? Yeah, so e inval, but the problem is I did this before, actually, and, like, it specified what seemed like E and val both ways, and it seemed like the messages were the same. So I don't know what the difference is yet, but if we run into some scenario where we can tell that, there's some call we can do to get an error, like if I try and execute something without permission, then maybe we can figure out what that's for. But for the time being, I'm kind of leaving it alone. Let's see. So parse ports. Parse link info. Link info. Okay. And this is not going to be an array. This is going to be a single one, I think. So, because you're specifying just a single, you just get a single netlink message back here. So, if len messages not equals 1, ethtool unexpected number of GE netlink messages for link info. L colon equals, there we go. And then we can just do messages 0 and get rid of the whole slice entirely, which is nice. Okay, now this is just M, a single generic netlink message, which returns a single pointer to a link info, which means we no longer need the slice. Yeah, here we go. So li link info, we return the address of li. It's kind of funny because I've been writing Go for a long time, and I was working with a coworker who mentioned, comes from a C background, and I declare this struct var li link info, and I return the address of it. He's like, wait a minute, you're returning a pointer to something that's on the stack, and I'm just like, yeah, I guess. And it's like, yeah, this moves it to the heap and whatever else. Like, oh wow, we just had sounds like an airplane passing by pretty low. That's weird. We do have an airport in Kalamazoo, but it's a fair ways away. I'm not used to hearing that. Anyway, like I was saying, is it'll figure out here oh, this actually escapes to the heap, so it'll be put on the heap by default, I think, anyway. But it's just kind of funny because with Go, we just take kind of these things for granted. I don't really care. I'm used to returning a pointer to a local variable, no problem. Which is a bit of a strange thing, if you think about it. So the command it gets me back is 2. I actually wanted to check the definition of, let's see here, so code. I want to look up the definition of, what do you call it? Link info get. Isn't there something like the reply? Oh yeah, C is weird now after I touched Go. Yeah, totally. And it's the C way, frankly makes more logical sense, but Go hides a lot of these things from you, so you don't have to care, which is kind of nice too. So yeah, link info get reply, right? So link info get reply. So this happens to have the same value as link info get, but I think this is actually a link info get reply. We don't really have to look at it though. We're just going to trust the kernel's doing the right thing, I think. Need to close some tabs here. Okay. So what I would expect this to return is whatever the documentation says. So link info get. Here we go. Response contains a header, which is probably going to be the exact same thing we passed into it, so the interface index and such. Let's see here. So just go ahead and dump this out really quick. So case, this is going to be AD nested. These I really like how these attribute encoder and decoder types came out. I think these are some of the best things about the Netlink package. It makes this stuff so damn easy. So what I expect to see here is the nested attribute decoder is also going to contain a bunch of stuff. So for example, we'll see, I'm just curious. Empty. Oh, it's because it's not actually iterating anything at the moment. So within we need to do the same iteration loop actually. So and here we can just spew dump net type and then the bytes. Oops. So this will print out whatever's in the nested. Yeah, so, okay, so we have the interface index and the string. Okay, so it looks like the API gives us back both. So no matter what we pass in, we get both back. I suppose that's probably useful to pass to the caller, you know? So we can actually, within the link info, index int name string, switch NAD type. And then we have the dev index. Case. So now the index, li index equals NAD uint32. Yep. And now we'll actually start returning the link information. So link info. So when the caller passes the device by its index or its string, we're going to return both because the API gives you both. Ryan K. Hawkins, welcome. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. So the link info, if, and then we'll dump out the link info struct as well. Right, the shim in the middle needs to also support the same things. Link info. The same things down here. FYI, it looks like you're right on Netlink Request. We can open up LWN on stream for sure. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so the extended ACK TLVs. So in addition to just the ACK header request, oh, okay. So after the Netlink message body, there's another set of TLVs. The string message, the offset. Oh, wow. Missing attribute ID. Oh, that's great. Huh. Today I learned. See, I implemented that, but I didn't actually realize that was the case. Cool. So it's more narrow in the error reporting. Yeah. So when I was doing the WireGuard Netlink stuff, like those structures are very complicated, and that was a lot of effort to get right. Yeah, rather than just a generic reject. Yeah, I have become very used to getting e-inval and going to look at kernel source. So this is something I should really look at. The problem is right now is that I'm not sure extended ACK TLVs. So my library would probably have to figure out whether those exist or not, and we don't support that at the moment. So that's probably something my library should do, though. So maybe that's worth looking into. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to leave a link for this really quick before I forget. Look into extended acknowledgement TLVs when the option is set. See, thanks. Are you .waffle on GitHub as well? Guess we'll see. Yes, I believe that's you. Cool. I am, thanks. Yeah, no problem, thank you. Does your receiver need to be a pointer type? So I've come to just default everything to pointer receivers, and I guess for better or worse, but in this particular case, I believe yes, because we're also passing around the generic Netlink connection and such, although that's already a pointer, so I guess in theory, you would get a copy of the struct and the family and the copy of the pointer, but still talk to the same connection, so probably doesn't matter, but I tend to default to pointer receiver rather than value receiver, because it's just been my experience that that is what I expect more so as the caller of an API, so... But I think it could be a bit of personal preference in this case too. Okay, let's also get the name, device name. Yep. Index string. Name. Yep. And with that, too many arguments to return. Yes, the error method does not need to be called. Yeah, because we propagate the errors back up to the top level as well, which is cool. 105. Right. So we added all these new paths. So nil, nil, nil. And then we can just return parse link info in this case. Okay. There we go. So we have our first successful struct parse from this, which is the interface index and the name from the nested attributes. So I guess my one gripe here is that you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 levels of indentation. Not amazing, but probably still okay. That's the thing with closures and stuff, and just the way this API works is because you're iterating, like it's essentially a custom built iterator kind of, with the for loop, the switch statement, then you got nested attributes, then you got another for loop, a switch statement, and then it's probably okay. Usually if something is confusing, I will document it well, but I think in this case it's probably fine. Enjoying the streams. Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I enjoyed doing them. I was saying on stream yesterday, this gives me a chance to work on projects and everything that I find interesting. And, in this particular case, I have been looking for a project, and I think I can actually use this utility I'm building in this package. We're going to create some kind of, what do you call it? Probably like a physical link monitoring daemon that can do things like check for CRC errors, which should be pretty awesome because I've actually run into problems with that on my own. So port MDIO, don't know what that means. MDIX control status. I don't know what either of those mean. And then the transceivers must be an enum as well. So link info port. But yes, I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Thank you all for hanging out. Like I said, I am actually pretty shocked by the viewership today, considering I didn't announce this beforehand, but it seems like my tweet has gained some traction and stuff, so there might be some new folks in here, so welcome. Hope you're enjoying the stream. I enjoy doing this sort of thing. It's kind of funny because when I built my Netlink library like 4 years ago now, I did not anticipate it kind of growing the way that it has or being as useful as it has. I think it's probably my most well-known library at this point, which is pretty cool. Let's see here. So the port is a uint8, which I assume is an enum of some sort. Physical port. Probably some kind of port enum in here somewhere. Port. Link info port U8. I'm sure the transceiver is an enum, right? That's gonna be like fiber or really? Link info. Maybe the ethtool APIs define what these values mean in ethtool.h. Might want to look at that one too. Oops, there we go. This is a guest window. Okay, good. ethtool.h. Yeah, I pretty recently crossed 2,000 Twitter followers. That's pretty insane to me. I know people appreciate my work and stuff, but it's like you want to listen to me shitpost about afternoon coffee and whiskey and other stuff too. I try to keep it mostly technical. I know that the majority of my audience on Twitter is technical, and I'm happy to appease you all. Oh, one sec. Gotta send a message. Yeah, but I try and keep things mostly technical. I mean, I'll post funny little stuff from my life and whatever else too, but I think people don't mind too much. But yeah, I appreciate all of the support. People have reached out to me so many times to tell me how much they like, my blog or my open source or my streams, and that means a lot to me. 2020 has been a pretty trying year and stuff, and I appreciate all of the support and all of the the words of encouragement, because it means a lot and helps me want to keep doing this. So thank you. Did that send? Yes, it did. Cool. So the transceiver type cannot be trusted. You wasted a lot of time on that. What is that? What exactly does that mean? Oh, but not in a consistent way. Oh, God. So why is it returned by the ethtool API then? Ethtool link info. Link info. So it seems like this comment right here makes me seem to think this is probably not worth the trouble, huh? Ethernet twisted pair MDIX status, one of the constants. Okay, yes, we're gonna have to look at ethtool.h for documentation here too. Okay. I'll be back in just a sec. I'm gonna go get some more water. So BRB. Okay, we're back. So as far as transceivers, you can't remember if it was just sometimes showed the wrong thing or it was a false negative or a false positive, but either way, it was frustrating. Interesting. Yeah, I might ignore it for now then, I guess based on what you're saying and what I'm seeing here in the docs. Yeah, it seems odd to me. Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I was in the kitchen just now and I saw I've got a little like cookbook with like soups and stuff in it. And last time I was home, my mom made some sort of clone of like the Panera broccoli cheese soup, but like, you know, with better ingredients and stuff. And it was delicious. And I'm going to make that recipe very soon. And I'm excited because I love soup, especially broccoli cheddar stuff. It's so good. Yeah, 5:10. I'm gonna be hungry for dinner. Let's see here. You seem to remember it was just an enum and a header file. It's not that much work, but it should really come with large flashing lights as to reliability or not. I see. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's why I transceiver, because there's this which transceiver? Oh, is this, hang on, Xsieve. That's the problem here. Oh. Oh, so the port, what's out, this port enum probably looks like, you know, fiber AUI MII. I don't know what that means exactly, but we'll figure it out. So I think this is what I care more about is the port type, like fiber or whatever else that could be kind of interesting or useful. We will probably leave transceiver alone, but so this is going to be an enum of some sort, I'm sure. Type port int. So this is where we copy these definitions, huh? TP, AUI, MII. If it's a port, yeah, we AD uint 8. Yeah. Easy. Link info port equals casted. So this port type is 5, so which is DA direct attach. Yeah, so I guess that would make sense because this is a direct attach copper stuff. So I think probably what we'll do now is we'll make this a little more. Hang on a sec. So for interface net interfaces. Failed to fetch interfaces. We're going to iterate all of my interfaces, and whichever ones are supported by this, we will IFI index dump the info for. So if the operation is not supported, it means that it's not an Ethernet interface. So not errors is, we're going to cheat for now, Unix E not supported. Yeah. Uh-oh. That's good. Failed to get link info, netlink validate, mismatch sequence. I think that means I'm holding it wrong. That doesn't seem right. It's unique in every driver, maybe. Oh, that'd be no good. So if it's not supported, we want to return an error for sure. But why am I? All right, let's cheat really quick. So, oops. So I want index 2 and 3. Those are the ones I care about. So I did index not equals 2 and equals 3. Continue. Just dump both my Ethernet interfaces. Yeah, that's concerning. So it would seem there's some sort of like intermediate state here. Hang on a sec. So nl debug. Failed to get link info, netlink validate. Maybe this is where the extended acknowledgement stuff will come in more handy, but See this, the Mellanox MLX4 stuff seems very familiar. Let's take a look. Oh, yeah. Probably not worth the trouble, huh? Fair enough. Yeah, so why does this not accept multiple requests? I guess if I do the same, I guess just for out of curiosity really quick, if I dump the same interface twice, what happens? Like, it might be there's a message I'm not draining or something out of the socket, which would be weird because as far as I can tell, I've had multi-part messages right forever. Let's do this. Okay. Yeah, same problem. So that's good. Why request acknowledge? Is it already? What happens if I do this? So now it works. Okay, so it's already giving me acknowledgement somehow. I don't need to specify the acknowledge flag. That's weird. Is that because I have the extended acknowledgement already on? No, I don't. It doesn't want acknowledgement. It doesn't want the acknowledgement flag, or else it sends an additional message. That's weird. Maybe I do want that, though, for certain things, but not for this particular message, so I guess I'll leave it off. Let's see here. So note. Don't send netlink acknowledge, or we get an extra message back from the kernel, which doesn't seem useful as of now. Right? I mean, that's weird, though. I've never actually run into this before. I'm pretty sure all of the requests I've ever done pretty much have used the acknowledge flag. Anyway, that's one of those things we're going to need to look at, I suppose, but let's try this again. So what I'd expect now. If continue. Okay. Oh. There we go. That's really strange that the Docker interface. Oh, I guess Docker interface virtual bridge, those get ETH as well. Huh. So port type 0, port type 5. So 0 port TP, twisted pair. So twisted pair direct attach. Okay, that makes sense, yeah, because I've got a 10 gig, I've got an SFP plus interface on here, and I've got twisted pair, and I've got direct attach. That's that thing. Cool. Fiber BNC, and then port other, and other must be like virtual stuff, right? Like 255, yeah, virtual bridge 0, Docker 0. Huh. Okay. Cool. Well, it seems to be working, so that's good. So we can, I guess, steal these constants. I don't really want to. The problem is if we steal these from ethtool.h, we can't import ethtool and cross-platform code, so I'm going to need to expose these constants somehow. So I think probably it's best just to hard code. I don't generally like doing such things, but I don't think we have a choice in this case. So twisted pair, and we're gonna make these bigger. I don't know what AUI or MII stand for. We can figure that out. Fiber with that spelling. Okay. Port equals 2, port equals 3. BNC port equals 4. Direct attach port equals 5. None port equals 0xEF. Other. AUI is the old dongle thing out the back of old Ethernet cards, usually for 10 base 5. Yuck. Before my time. Could have done multi-cursor here, but anyway. Okay, and then we're going to want to use the stringer utility with this, I'm sure. So let's go ahead and steal that out of my devlink repo as well. Yep. Oh, car alarm, fun. Port. Go generate. in the repo itself. There we go. And now we get the stringified versions. Yes, there we go. Direct attach, twisted pair, etc. Sweet. So MII is the updated signaling mechanism after AUI. If you've ever used MII tool, yeah, I have actually. So that's what it refers to. Okay, cool. I'd rather spell those out though, if possible. AUI, MII. What do those stand for? Attachment Unit Interface. Fun. And then Media Independent Interface. I kind of prefer more verbose rather than not. So media. I already forgot the definition. Independent interface. Oops. There we go. Independent interface. Fiber BNC. What does BNC stand for? BNC connector. I forget exactly. So it's the name of the company. Yeah, I guess BNC is probably fine to leave as is then. I think people know what that is. In this specific instance, yeah, I suppose AUI and MII probably make more sense. And if I'm going to leave BNC, it's probably fine. But I think TP and DA is a little bit cryptic. So I think twisted pair and direct attach are probably fine. But I guess people would probably know AUI and MII versus the acronym, though. Okay. TP expanded seems fine. Yeah. So these are going to go into the general file now, actually. Link info provides information about a link, right? I mean, what does the docs say? Link info. I should look at the docs instead. Link info. Request link settings is provided by, request link settings. Does not use any attributes. Oh, it does support dump. Okay, so we can specify it without the header to get all of them. Okay, that's good. That's exactly what I wanted, actually. So link info get. Request link settings is provided by. Okay. Info contains link settings for an Ethernet link. Good enough. A port is the port type for a link info structure. Possible port type values. So now what I want to make. So this is where we get into the thing again with we're specifying the what do you call it? The individual versus the index and stuff. So I guess we'll do by. We'll rename that for now. We'll make this link info. This will return all of them. We're going to try the dump API as well. Info by index, just for the time being. By index. And then we're going to abstract this away again too, but for the time being. So does this want a header with no? Is this what this wants? Does this want that the nested attributes is an empty attribute set? That seems like a strange thing to me, but it would seem to imply that that's what the kernel is expecting. Okay. Netlink dump. And what I would expect now, spew dump messages. This will give us back messages for each interface. And we can just for now. Shoot. Too many arguments. Oh, that's right. So now instead of doing this, we'll do it with this more broad API instead. Spew dump. Nice. Thoughts on the most recent Linux kernel changes? I'm not sure what changes you're talking about specifically. I don't tend to follow like the day-to-day kernel development stuff, but I'm always a fan when like things like this get an update. Like the ethtool interface now has a Netlink interface, which is awesome. There we go. That works just fine. Sweet. So now we can have the dump call or the individual stuff. Tiny project, 1 to 2 changes this month. Yeah, I'm sure. So I guess, this perhaps shows that there's some merit to the functional options approach, because you can make it so if you specify no selector, then it returns all of them. But then you have a function which you specify a selector and it returns a slice with one element. Yeah, that would be awkward. I don't want to do that. Never mind. Change my mind. But we can't abstract this away. So let's see here. But we could just memoize this header for sure. So I think what I'm going to do is copy C client link info. But then we have to allocate a slice header and then throw it away immediately too. I don't know how to feel about that either. So this, for example, would be link info index if error len li's expected number of link info messages. So we're creating a slice header and immediately throwing it away, which I don't love, but and this would just be implemented in terms of return C link info. And then here we set the parameters. So we're going to want either... Hang on. So there is no index 0. Okay, so if there's the 0 value, we don't specify it at all. So if index greater than 0. Did we? Oh, yeah, we copied this, didn't we? Okay. So now we parse link info from all of the messages. So now we have to go back to the previous approach where it iterates. Parses link info structures, more than one. M messages. For each, we create an attribute decoder. Var li's array pointer to link info. We create a local link info, we populate it, and then when the error checking is done, li's equals append li's with the address of the local variable. And then if there are none, well, see here, so this would be no Ethernet devices. Okay, where are we at now? Failed to get link info, einval, right. Link info is 0. Yeah, so we need to specify flags too. So flags index. So netlink dump. Oh, that's right. This is netlink header flags. And then no flags, and then the index. Now this will work. Not quite, because I didn't plumb it in. There we go. Okay, there we go. So now we've got support for both interfaces through a common little thing here. And this is silly, but we could... wrong loop syntax. Okay, I guess I'll write it by hand. So now at this point, you would expect that, if we fetch the... This is silly, we don't need to do this, but... Okay, there we go. So now we verify both calls work. That's good. And I guess this is where we figure out the, yeah, by name, by... Hmm. I guess we'll see. So how many of the APIs accept this header, right? So a link info header. Oh, so this is a different header for every... How many different headers are there? Link info, link modes. Oh man, there's lots. Yeah, this is we probably don't want to create a WL header. S Blue, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Wake on LAN header. Where is the request header? We'll go back over here for now. Oh, so this is the request header. Hey, wait, link info header. Did I just happen to get that right, or am I getting them mixed up? No, I am getting them mixed up. Okay. I was getting the link info header mixed up with the request header? Or do they just happen to have the same request header? Oh, so you specify a different header type, but it always has the same values? That's a little weird, I guess. I don't really understand. Maybe if they want to add certain attributes for certain things. A bitmap of request flags, which is a U32. Okay, let's try that really quick. I'm just curious. So a header flags. Okay, so NAE uint32 ethtool a header flags. Uint32 of that should set the flag. What happens now? Nothing. Are we getting the E no support here? Operation not supported. Yeah, okay. So stats aren't supported. ethtool flag stats. ethtool flag stats. 0x80h, another hex username. Nice. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. So it looks like some of these stats are only reported under certain places, like eth a pause stats. Okay. So this doesn't apply at all to this link info thing, so I'm not even looking at the right things right now. Dump info about all links. Index 0 means fetch everything. Request info about a single link by its index. So I guess actually if you specify, you could misuse this API by specifying 0, but then it'll just give you e-inval, I think. So if I do this, I'm pretty sure this will just error, actually. Go run. Oh. Yeah, e-inval. Okay. I guess I'm good with that. It's like a you're holding it wrong kind of thing. I suppose I could return an error there because I don't think it's possible to have an interface index of 0, right? I guess I could be more helpful than just giving e-inval, but turn errors.new. Interface index must be non-zero and call to link info by index. Index cannot be 0 or the kernel will e-inval on this path. Okay. Getting there. Making good progress. Link settings for an Ethernet link. Let's see here. So link info fetches link info structures for each supported Ethernet device on this system. Link info by index fetches. I kind of want to go with the option 3, the struct thing. I feel like that might make the most sense, but because otherwise you're gonna end up with like duplicated methods for everything. But it's also gonna be annoying for the caller to write it out since we don't have like function overloads or anything. Info for the Ethernet device specified by index. Index must not be 0. Getting there. I think this is probably a good point for us to possibly think about committing the first pass of this too, and also writing a few tests since we're starting to get to the point where we're actually getting some parsing logic and stuff in here. If I wanted to, I could factor this out into a function. That's sometimes something I will do. So like, for example, the address of parse header link info header. We never found out what recent kernel changes. Yeah, I was curious where that was going as well. such is life. Link info. If that user is still around, though, I would be curious to understand what they were asking as well. Return a closure. What's up? Tidies things up a bit at the cost of a bit more code complexity, but I'm okay with it for now. So now we have a nice function here that we call, so parse link info header will parse the fields directly in here, and then we have less indentation, which I like. So interface, yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's kind of funny with like Twitch chat with like programming stuff, because like occasionally you'll just get random questions from people who are like, hey, can you help me hack my mom's Facebook? And it's like, what? Or there was somebody earlier today who asked like, is the backdoor on the motherboard or something, and it's like, I have no idea, you know. Spu.dump link infos. Well, can you? No. Sorry. There we go. I find it interesting how it claims the virtual bridge 0 is twisted pair, but huh. Anyway. Wait, this isn't a motherboard hacking stream. How do I refund my sub? I think you can, you just won't. Yeah. Parse. Link info header decodes information from a link info header into the input link info. Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I'm generally pretty good about comments. I think I'm actually very good about comments, but I think this is all fairly straightforward, just netlink parsing stuff. So there's nothing really of value here that I could say at the moment. I wonder if I really need the special case. Like, I guess the whole, like, returning a nil slice versus like an allocated slice of length 0, it's like, for all intents and purposes, they are often the same in the calling code. I don't know. The caller will specify the exact flags they need, depending on whether this is a request for one link or all links. requesting. See, I keep thinking back to this like by name or by index thing. I might do this. I kind of want to, but additional header flags. Additional header flags and the input netlink request attributes. Request header, request bytes. I usually like, I guess I could just call this the bytes B. I tend to really prefer short variable names. I know some people have strong feelings. BT Watch, welcome. Thank you for the follow. I know some people have strong feelings about Go short variable names, but I think that I tend to make my function short enough where shorter is better, you know? That is something I do want to look at. But... Do we have any options? I don't think so. Built in, no. What I wanted was this. Multicast groups, not yet. Network namespace, no, definitely no. Maybe, might plumb this up to the caller, maybe. That's fun. I was really glad to get rid of this. Deprecate or disable NS lock thread, that's really good. Can you set ethtool flag stats? I think I just tried, was that the one I just tried? Yeah, I just tried that actually, and it returned a e-op not supported, so it doesn't work for this call. It seems like it's going to work for pause get, ethtool pause, but it doesn't seem like it works for link info. I did just check. Okay. Making progress. Making progress. I'm going to have some more whiskey tonight. I'm really excited. Damn, you were getting tea at the wrong time. Yeah, no worries. It's not a problem. I never mind, you know, I know that, like, reality is that people probably aren't paying attention to every single thing that happens on the stream, and that's okay, you know. But it's kind of funny because, like, you'll watch a big streamer and they answer the same question, like, literally every 10 minutes for, like, 4 hours, and that blows my mind, you know. But thankfully, folks in the stream are usually, usually pretty good about that too. But I don't really mind at all. So something I said yesterday, but it's like, you know, I encourage people to come in here and ask questions. Like, even if it's not necessarily what we're working on, I can possibly put you in the right direction or something. Like, I'm happy to help. Wow, I can tell I've got caffeine brain still. That Lord Chemex is, you know, kicking in. I gotta show you all a picture. One sec. Instagram. I think I tweeted this too, but I am on Instagram. I expect this is mostly going to be real life friends and stuff, you know, doing my silly things. But yeah. Oh, well, you can't view it. Come on. Okay, Twitter. Oh, it's actually linked right here. Yeah, Lord Chemex, praise. So good. That perfect 15-to-1 ratio. So delicious. 30 grams of coffee exactly, and then 450 milliliters of water exactly. Ah, fresh ground local beans. So good. I love coffee so much. One of my favorite things for sure. Extended acknowledgements and consider setting them here. You appreciate that? Yeah, coffee is so good, man. It is. It's one of the finer things in life. You know, there have been times in my life where it's like, you know, like, am I drinking too much? Like, do I have, you know, I never thought I had like a drinking problem, right? But it's like I've had like binge drinking phases, especially in college and stuff. But I am 100% addicted to coffee. Like, that is no joke. Like, coffee is a necessity. I crave it every day. It's like, it's 5:45 and I kind of want coffee right now. You know, pretty silly, but I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. But it sure does sound good. I'm still buzzing from the last cup, the last Chemex, you know. So this encapsulates the message. Yeah, pack into the generic or the Netlink header and everything. Yeah. Probably gonna need to make faster versions of these things eventually too. Oh, here it's close to midnight, so I switched to tea. Yeah, that's a good call. Actually, ooh, I have tea. I have green tea. Green tea has caffeine. I don't know if I have any tea without caffeine. That sounds kind of nice though. Better coffee than meth. Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. I feel pretty good about this point. Make this faster. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. So when fetching by index, this will be non-zero. Otherwise, we leave it empty to dump all the links. This is looking pretty clean so far. We're doing pretty good. Actually, we should write some tests though too. We should do that. We got probably like another hour of streaming most likely today. I usually find like once I get to like the 4 hour mark, I'm pretty much shot. So we'll probably do go for another hour. So we can actually refer back to the dev link stuff and steal some of my tests. Actually, that would be a good idea. But I'm curious if my change was merged into Garrett or if anybody looked at it. Probably not. It's a weekend, you know. But oh, there are new messages. Okay, the tribots are happy, but yeah, nobody's like, that's fine. I don't think we're going to end up pushing this today. We'll probably commit it, but it's not going to work for anybody because I've got a local Go mod replace, but that's okay. This will be online probably tomorrow. I suspect we'll be streaming again. I kind of like the time of day where I did it today, like, you know, roughly 3 or 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern, because that way I get more hours of sunlight outside and I can go do things and be a human while the sun is up. Because once the sun goes down, I have no interest, you know. Speaking of which... There we go. Close the blinds. My headphones sometimes tether me to my desk, so I have to be careful. Yeah, sorry. My headphones tether me to my desk, so I have to be careful not to pull these off, you know. Better coffee than meth. Yeah. Yeah, let's open up DevLink again. So I've got a GENL test thing I use. Yeah. So we can actually steal this basically, and what we're doing effectively is creating a test client, like a testing connection that intercepts the Netlink requests and like funnels them to functions. This is a pretty clever little thing I've done a few times, so we're going to steal this idea too. Client Linux test.go. Package ethtool. I was like, what are we working on again? Ethtool and ethtool. This should be a T helper at this point. And then we copy devices, empty response. Yeah, so we can copy both of these tests. Both? Both? Individual? No. Both? Let's start with just one for now. So effectively what we're doing here is we are going to intercept the netlink calls and get the messages and then return back canned data, so like the kernel would. So this allows us to test this. We can essentially unit test our netlink calls, and then we can also have integration tests, which will do the real thing. So we'll get to those a little later, but I like this pattern. It works pretty well. So for the time being, we're going to go full screen with this and then keep our APIs open over here. Test Linux client empty response. So if you get empty... Yeah, if there are no, so for example, here we call link info, fail to get link info. Undeclared name client. There is a client. Oh, it's the build tag. Plus build Linux, right? Let's see here. So link info. I expect this would actually work. Be pretty close. Init client. Yeah. Generic netlink connection. Why doesn't this work? Or is this just VS Code or go please messing with me? Go watch this little alias I have. There we go. Hey, it does work. Sweet. Yeah, so let's just go, please. Psyching me out a little bit. We can close that for a little bit, too. Yeah, see, so now we've already got some test coverage, so we can, like, look at the incoming requests and then inspect things and then make sure we pass the right requests and also pass back the right things. So if there are no Ethernet devices, this works and it returns an empty slice. Unexpected number of link info structures. Okay. So we're just reflecting back the messages we get passed in this case? No, it's a predefined number of messages, predefined requests. Yeah, okay. So this is fine, but we need to look more specifically at some of the requests and make sure we're passing the right things, like the dump flag and such. So test Linux client. Let's see here. Linux client link info. In this particular case, we can remove this parameterized function because we don't need it. We are going to pass back canned data, and then we're going to validate the requests as well, because we actually want to look at the underlying netlink and generic netlink requests to make sure we're passing the right constants. So, my hands are getting kind of cold. That's one of the annoying things about like typing. Actually, do I have little? Hang on. At one point, I had these little like gloves that were like compression gloves, and they were actually pretty useful for this sort of thing. They are not in here. I should figure out where those went. That would be useful right now. I've got a Canadian 20 from one time. My friends and I went to a casino in Canada at like 11 o'clock at night. We were in Detroit, and we're like, oh, let's go to Canada. So I've got a Canadian 20 in my desk that is useless to me, but it's just kind of funny to have around. One of the neat things about Michigan is that since you're so close to Canada, like you can just go over there and just do whatever you want for like a day. God. Need to reorganize my desk drawers. This is a bit of a mess. I've got this little drawer on my standing desk. Where are those gloves, man? I want to find those, but I don't know where they are. I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget. Oh, I did all that. Compression gloves. Also, they're fingerless, which is really nice too, so you can actually like type well with them. Yeah, just I wonder where they went. They're usually right here. But I also cleaned my desk a little bit ago, and I might have put them away because I wasn't using them, especially over the summer. Anyway, so at this point, we create this test client. So C link info, right? And now, let's see. We want to test both cases where it's okay and there's errors, right? No, because for this call, this doesn't require privileges and it has no parameters, so every call should succeed. So error T failed to get link info. And then we do a diff, so you want link info. So the request, the messages are the generic netlink messages we're going to return, and then we're also going to return the link info structures. So want TT or no, yeah, LIs. Sappy and WhereTag, thank you for the follows. I appreciate that. Back to back. That's pretty cool. We are at 540 followers. We got to beat Large Databank. He's got like 1,600 or something though. So if you're not following the stream, smash that like button, like and subscribe. This isn't YouTube. Right. So client link info. So in this case, the kernel is going to return any devices. Yeah, there's no parameters here, so I don't even know if we need to like parameterize this test or like make a table-driven test, but we're going to anyway. So given a series of generic netlink messages, excuse me. You kind of end up creating these monstrosities like this, like these big packed series of attributes. And for better or worse, this ends up being a pretty convenient way to test these things, because you can actually write out every attribute and its type and data and then encode all of it and then make sure it actually round trips successfully, which is pretty good. So we need to look at all the parsing code and figure out what exactly we're passing back. And in this case, that's going to be like the link info header. So to start with, every time we get a generic netlink message, it's going to have a link info header. So shoot, already messed it up. ethtool, a link info header. And this is going to be more nested attributes. So nltest.mustMarshal. And then within these attributes, we now have another slice, which is going to contain type of, for example, the device's index. And then the index is going to be 1, for example. So nlenc uint32 bytes. Yeah, so this ends up being a bit of a pain in the neck. Data? Yeah. This ends up being a bit of a pain in the ass just because you have to write all of this stuff over and over again, but it ends up being pretty easy to test this way too. I suppose what I could do here is I could make it so that you have a function that returns a, like, uses the attribute encoder stuff, but I'm not sure if that existed. Well, let's try that. So the equivalent, so I would expect that this would work, at least to some extent right now. So ttfn is undefined. Okay, yeah, so what we're seeing here is we expect messages, link infos. Okay, so what we're expecting here is an array of pointers to link info structures. And there's going to be 1 right now, but we're going to have 2. So index 1. Right, and then we'll also have the device name in here too. And I'll show you all what I'm talking about with the attribute decoder too. We're going with old school eth0 type stuff. Bytes. Yep. Name Ethernet 0. There we go. So this passes now, but what we can do here is we can actually go one better a little bit, and as an alternative approach, we can make it so that each of these data functions like takes a netlink attribute encoder, and we make it so that it will create the attributes and everything on the fly for us. So here's what I'm thinking. Testing T. Attribute encoder. And it can't return any errors because we're going to check it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to call thelper. We invoke the user-defined function. So new attribute encoder. Ooh, getting a little... My wrist is getting a little tight. That's weird. It's been a while. I guess a lot of typing today, you know. I'm usually good. I miss lifting weights. I was talking about this on stream too. Sorry if I keep referencing yesterday, but it's just a lot of things keep coming to mind. I miss lifting weights because like lifting weights really helps me. I feel like with my the muscles, like working them out and stuff, like helps my fingers and everything. I feel better from typing. So that is something I very much miss. So we're going to pass a netlink attribute encoder, and if there's any errors... Oh, this one doesn't have errors. It just returns the bytes. Or it does have an error, but you call the encode method to get it. T fatal F failed to encode attributes. So now if there's something like obviously wrong here, this will make it more concise. And now what we can do instead of doing this, we can do... Make sure this compiles. There we go. So encode T func netlink attribute encoder. So now we have an empty attribute encoder. We do nothing to it, so we get nothing back out. That makes perfect sense. So instead of writing it this way with the must marshal and then the slices and stuff, I can write it this way. So I can do AE nested, Unix ethtool, a link info header. And now we get the nested attribute encoder within that scope. Shoot, this is going to get annoying with the font sizes here. Let's close that for now. Expected 1. Oh, that's why. Netlink. Yes, now we can do this, and this is going to make things easier for us. Am I missing a bracket? Missing return. Oh, that's why. Yep. So we can do this, and then within this, we can actually do AE. Let's see here. So that's a uint32 for the index. I don't think the encoder stuff existed at the time when we wrote this. So string. Oh, wow. Hey, Anthony writes code. Wow, holy cow. That is a big raid. Party of 58. Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for the raid. Anthony writes code. That is awesome. Welcome, everyone. We are in the middle of writing some Netlink code in Go. Oh, wow. Anthony writes code. Thank you for the follow. Shazawak, Marco Dev, thank you for the follow as well. Holy cow. That's sweet. Yeah, we're having a good old time. We are currently poking at the Linux ethtool Netlink interface. So old school Linux used to be able to like pass these nasty ioctl, syscall, whatever stuff to get Ethernet device information, but now we can actually do it through the Netlink interface. And I am somebody who's done Go for years, and I wrote a Netlink library for Go. So I do lots of, large data bank, introduce yourself for the Raiders. Yeah, hey, I'm Matt. I do mostly open source Go, networking, Linux, syscall type stuff. And today I'm doing exactly all of those things. I am writing an open source library to control the ethtool Netlink interface. So welcome, Raiders. Nuber, Alexa Placan? Alex Saplican, maybe, that way. Recursive Kernel Pank, thank you for the follows as well. Holy cow, that is great. Anthony, I have not seen your stream, but your name looks familiar. I will have to give you a follow. Thank you, I really appreciate that. I'm very humbled by the raid. So, ethtool a header dev name, etho. I think that'll work. Yeah, there we go. Oh, not quite. Invalid netlink attributes. Did I forget the top level wrapper? Yeah, I think I might have actually. AWC carpet, nice. That's pretty cool. So you are a partnered like coding streamer. I assume I assume you're a coding streamer as well. That's awesome. That's something that I think would be really cool. I wonder if I could ever like dedicate myself enough to like get to that level, you know. But I do this for fun. You know, I enjoy working on open source. This gives me motivation to do that. That's that's extremely cool. Python streamer. Okay, right on. Yeah, Python's cool. I know Python people like networking, and of course, I love networking too. I just do it with Go. Are we missing a link info header? I think we're missing an outer set of attributes. Yeah, we are. Okay. So we have to do AE nested twice, actually. Or no, we have to... Yes? No? There's something... That's not right. Of course, as soon as I get here, and I'm looking at this... Yeah, I want to go with this view for now. So... Failed to get link info. Invalid attribute. Length too short or too large. So we have the link info header. So the code we're passing back, we have one generic netlink message. We're encoding data into it. It's going to encode from the top level netlink attribute encoder. Link info header, header dev name, header dev index. We're specifying both. Oh, we are, the problem is the scopes here got to me. So I actually want the nested attribute encoder, and now this is going to work. Yeah, exactly. So actually, I think this is a lot better. This is much more concise than this code, so we can actually totally get rid of this old way, which is very cool. So there we go. And the tests pass. That is sweet. All right. Yeah, welcome everyone. Anthony, I hope you had a great stream. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. We're chilling out. We probably got another. Yeah, we'll probably go another like 45 minutes or an hour at this point. I told my friends that I would probably be I'm seeing a friend tonight. I told them probably see him in a couple hours, so I think we'll probably code for like another hour or so, and then I'll go eat dinner and whatever else. But yeah, feeling good, having a good time. We're getting a lot done. We are waiting on a pull request, well, a go change list in this terminology, to be merged upstream, but otherwise we are making good progress. That's pretty nice. I'll move this encoding helper down so it's out of the way. Okay, so now we want to add more attributes, things like the port, yeah. Which is in this case the 0 value, but that's just fine. So AE nested, AE uint8, right? ethtool a tool a link fo port. Totally broke the autocomplete. Okay. So we need to convert uint8. Gordo Pelotudo, thank you for the follow. Let's see, link info port. So this would be ethtool twisted pair, right? Twisted pair connection. Yeah. Okay. So we can actually have more than one message here. So I think probably the way to do this is going to be to have multiple. So we'll make it so that we have. In fact, if we wanted to, we can even factor this out more and make a helper for the individual devices. Might not be a bad idea. I guess it's not that big of a deal, but I don't really like the duplication, especially with the kernel constants and stuff. So probably what we'll do here is we'll do like message : equals a function, which takes a port, no, link info. A link info structure that you pass into it, and then returns a generic netlink message of the encoded variety. So then we return the GE netlink message with just the data populated, because that's all we really care about. So this will be li index, this will be li name, and this will be li port. And then we just call message with a link info structure, index1, name eth0, and port twisted pair. There we go. That continues to pass. That's good. So, but now we've got some duplication here, so I suppose I could factor these out too. This is the problem I always get into, is that like a little bit of duplication I feel like in tests especially is fine, but I also just don't want to, I don't know. Yeah, it's fine, I guess. It's not that big of a deal. Or I suppose what I could do is I could make it so that the input messages are actually a function of the output link info thing. So I can make it so that the messages yeah, that's probably a good idea. Why not? So the messages we return to the caller are going to be an array of GE netlink messages, or a slice rather, excuse me, for each link info in the. We're going to append messages with the new message, which is part of the link info structure. There we go. Cool. And if we wanted to, we could actually pre-allocate, but this is a test and it literally doesn't matter. Generate the expected response messages using the wanted list of link info structures. And now I suppose I don't really need this closure or this this function anymore, so I could just inline this as well. There we go. So we also want to verify the request here. So we want to check the flags and everything, make sure the caller is passing a valid request that the kernel would actually want to accept as well. So what we're looking for is request flags. So we want to make sure the generic Netlink version is correct. The request flag is set. The dump flag is set in this case as well. So actually, so let's go ahead and dump both of these really quick. I'm just curious. Rec, grec. So type unknown 20, that's the family ID. The flags are request and 300. That should just be the dump flag, I would think. And in the generic Netlink stuff, we get the command name and, okay. So we want to check just a few things here. So we don't care about the length, the sequence, or the PID because those are all effectively determined by the kernel. It doesn't really matter. We do want to verify that we do care about the type because that's the family, the generic Netlink family. We care about that. We care about the command. We care about the version. Yeah, so I guess we'll check a few things here. Actually, does the test client check those for us? No, it does not. I could make it do so. There's a fair amount of magic here in this library, but yeah, this checks for the header. Huh. So this returns a hard-coded GENL version and name. So that's what we would expect. So I guess all we really care about is the flags. So the dump command is going to pass the appropriate flags. And I guess we also want to verify the... Blake-tastic, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. We want to verify probably the input request attributes as well, because you have to specify... No, not in this case. In this case, we want to make sure it's empty, because if you're specifying the... if you're creating an input request in this case, you are specifying the request header, but there should be nothing inside of it, actually. So we can ignore the Netlink message. We can just check the generic Netlink header instead. The fields we care about, so we care about the command. So Unix, ethtool, get link info. Oh, come on, autocomplete. Don't fail me now. This is what we want. And then what we're getting as a response, or we care about matching it up with the request header command. Yes. Oh, integer versus uint8. Yeah, I see. Different types. Unexpected ethtool command. Yep. So on top of that, we also have the flags. And the flags are actually specified in the Netlink header and not the generic Netlink header. So I guess we have to check both. Okay. We'll check the Netlink stuff first. Those kind of like the base table stakes type things. So request header flags. Unexpected Netlink flags. Netlink request and Netlink dump in this case. Should still be, yes, still passes. That's good. Okay. Message link info get. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so we checked both of those. So we checked the flags, we checked the parameters we care about, and then we need to check the body as well, because we need to look for this empty header. It's really strange. I wonder why it, I guess probably just for consistency you have to specify the header, but specifying an empty set of attributes is kind of strange. But I guess I'm good with it, it works. Where was I? Oh, right here. Check the command, the link info get, check the flags, check the attributes. So the input data. So the input data should be not, actually, I guess this could just be a hard-coded slice even, but I feel like it's probably better to semantically check the meaning of it. So the data should be. So we'll decode the data, and we'll make sure there's a link info header, and make sure there's nothing else in it, right? So AD error, let's see here. New attribute decoder. Decode request attributes. And the only thing we want to see in here is this nested set of link info stuff. So AD nested. AD error, and we'll check the error on the way out. Fatal F, failed to decode nested request, failed to decode request header. So we want to check this header and make sure it's valid, and then this is going to be the netlink attribute decoder, and then we return nil, nested at link. In this case, yeah, we don't ever want to iterate this at all. It should be empty. So actually what we're going to do is something weird, but if there's anything in here at all, should be no attributes whatsoever. Should be no attributes whatsoever. Then we'll fail the test. Let's see here. So request header contained netlink attributes. Yep, okay. So if this for loop triggers at all, if there's anything in this slice of stuff we're getting that we want to fail out, actually. Cool. Feel pretty good about that. I can close this pane. Let's see here. So verify the parameters of the requests which are unique to the link info call. That clarifies a bit more. So we expect actually AD nested. So we don't start iteration at all here. Wait. So we need to start iteration first. Before AD next. So in this case, actually, we want to advance the iterator once and then check the type. Failed to advance request header decoder. Is IPC between user space processes the main case for your Netlink, your tool? Yeah, so in this case, like Netlink is an IPC mechanism mostly for user space and the kernel. I understand, like, I guess there are some cases where you could use it for like user space to user space, but often you have like Unix sockets for that, right? So in this case, we're talking to the kernel and specifically the stuff about ethtool. So ethtool is an old school utility which you can use to like figure out information about your Ethernet interface, things like if you're having like CRC mismatch errors and stuff like that. And they finally added a Netlink interface, so we were actually asking the kernel for information it's had forever, but now there's a new API for doing it. So Netlink makes that much, much nicer, which I appreciate. Could not advance request header decoder. So we want the type of, let's see here. We want this type. Awesome. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. I'm happy to answer any more questions. So yeah, folks who stop by, I appreciate it. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to clarify stuff. We've been going at this for a few hours now, but we started from zero, which is pretty cool. So if you got a bunch of people to connect to each other with Tailscale or some similar technology, could you make a sub-internet with BGP? Yeah, actually people do that. Like that's actually a thing people do. So you're obsessed. DN42. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to look up. Yep, DN42 is a thing where people like run like VPNs in their own BGP and stuff. And I think this stuff is incredibly cool, and this is something I've always wanted to do. But yeah, this is a thing people actually do. Yeah. It's extremely cool. Yeah, I should sign up for DN42. I think that'd be a lot of fun. AD type. Unexpected link info header type. Int. Okay, there we go. Yep, and then there should be no attributes within it at all. So we must advance into the nested request header, to the request header, but it shouldn't contain any further attributes. I guess we could do if ned next. Any further attributes because the dump request does not specify index and or name. Did DN42 was fun. What happened to the first 41 decentralized networks? They didn't answer the question of life. We don't talk about those. Yeah. It's actually kind of funny. So Dave Anderson, also from Tailscale, was at one point, he wanted to see what it would take for a few of us who do home labby stuff to get an IPv6/32 and like route it to a data center and then use like WireGuard and like, you know, route /48s to our houses and stuff. And I think that would be pretty fun. But it turns out that's expensive, so, and unnecessary. But it's pretty cool. I think the thing is with like something like DN42, right, is like what I hear is it's a lot of fun to set up, but then you realize there's like nothing on it, you know, or it's like there's some internal wikis and stuff, but nothing of like serious value or daily utility. So it's a lot of fun to learn, but I don't know. Should do it anyway, right? It'd be fun. Nested Netlink attributes. All clear, return the expected and data. I mean, you could probably easily do it with the /48. Depends on how many people you expect to join as the delegated prefix size. Yeah, totally. I think in this case, it's like, you know, if you become like an ISP, you get like a /32. So, I mean, yeah, we can do /48. It's like I have a ULA /48 that I assign myself, you know. But I think we wanted like globally routable /32 and then like /48 per place, which would be pretty sick. But it's not that much for a 32. I'm seriously tempted to do it now. Actually, yeah. Let me know. Let me know what you find. I'd be curious. Okay, so we'll do, and then port twisted pair. Port direct attach. There we go. So now we are exercising the code paths pretty sufficiently, I would think. Sometimes it feels like these tests are maybe a little too magic, but I think that we're covering things pretty well. I'm pretty happy with this, you know. We also need to write a test for link info by index, which is a single interface. So you can actually copy a lot of this and then remove the duplication. But test client link info by index. So for the time being, yeah, I think we're going to go with the by index philosophy and stuff for the by index like naming. But I really do want to switch. I really do want to consider the struct approach as well. But we'll see. So li link info, and then I think this is probably where I will do a technique I do sometimes. I'll explain in a sec, but oh, so this would be encode link info. So we probably want to factor this out actually. Encode link info li. Encode link info. Generic netlink message. Okay. Return encode link info li dereference. So what I want here actually is like I want to test various failure cases. Like for example, if you specify index 0 and stuff like that. So €3,400 a year for RIPE membership, 50 for the 32, and 50 for the ASN. Maybe slightly more than I'm willing to spend. Yeah, that's exactly it. You know people who would sponsor it through their existing membership? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I would love a 32. That'd be pretty sick. I kind of want to get my /48 tattooed, my ULA. This is something I've discussed numerous times, but hang on, I actually or is it? Oh. Yeah, I was playing with this one time. Monospace fonts. So let's see. F01D 1A 04. Oh no. FD9E 1A04 F01D. How can I forget? Yeah. So like I kind of want to get this tattooed. Wouldn't that be awesome? Like having your IPv6 like ULA prefix like tattooed, you know. I feel like this is like such an MD layer thing. Like this is like incredibly on brand for me. You know, like this font looks kind of nice or something, but yeah. I guess depending on whichever one's like, as long as it's like a free font and stuff, but this is something I may end up doing at some point. I love the idea. This is basically a Steam Snow. What are you talking about, man? That's awesome. I love it. It's going to happen. This will just be a request. Don't worry about checking. Actually, we are going to want to check this in this case because we want to advance into it. Everyone would have to use the same ASN too. Maybe this isn't the greatest of ideas. Yeah, I don't even know. Like the thing is, I've never operated like a large scale network, so I frankly don't even know like what all is involved. You know, I think it'd be a lot of fun, but certainly unnecessary for daily life. You know, but if I could get a /32 for like $100 a year, it's like I would totally do it. You know, what is going on? Sorry, messages exploding for a little bit. So in this particular case, we actually want to make sure, hey, Lithium, what's going on? We probably have like 20 minutes of stream left, but we're making progress. So, hey, welcome. Good to see you here. Yeah, today's been a good one. We started from 0, and we are at the point now where this works, and we're writing tests. So this probably won't be committed today because we're still waiting on a Go CL to be merged, but we are making progress. Don't need to if you route BGP over WireGuard, and then you can use different internal ASNs. Yeah, exactly. Oh, when Joe starts telling him you know me and you want a 32, he has a RIPE LIR, so it'll cost him only €50 a year. Oh, interesting. Well, I suspect if he's also an IPv6 fan, yeah, like we'll probably bond pretty quickly. So that's pretty cool. GE Netlink message, encode link info from the header. You're working on compiling libsound.io for Windows, so you can use the Go wrapper. My goal is to write a small voice chat so I can make an Among Us proximity chat. Nice. That sounds very cool. Let's see here. So we want request link info by index. So in this case, we actually want to look for a specific set of attributes. You know, I think in this case, using the attribute decoder is actually biting us. We probably just want to have a hard-coded, like, I'll explain what I mean. The attribute decoder in this case is more work and more typing and more machinery. So what we can do instead of all this is, one sec, 204. Oh, T testing, T. Yeah, I gotta pass the T. Line 76. Okay, so what we can do instead of doing that is do adders error, netlink. Actually, is there an NL test? NL test must. Yeah, NL test must Marshall. There is no must on Marshall. Okay, Editor's error, netlink dot Marshall. Oh, but this isn't going to handle nested. It's not. Damn it. Well, what I could do is I could make it so I could just do a comparison instead of decoding. I can make it so that I ensure the bytes are exactly the same as I would expect. So what I can do is I can copy this encode function again, basically, yeah. Or I can copy pieces of this. So we're going to verify the bytes. So grec data. So byte slice of encoded data. So we want a link info header with nothing in it. And that's it, right? So unexpected request header bytes. So semantically, this won't be as convenient, but it will be much smaller and less of a pain in my ass. So, and now if I do, for example, nested netlink, who cares? Who? There we go. The bytes are different. See, yeah. So this is actually much easier instead of what I had before. So, assume we only have a link info header with no nested attributes. Not assume. So the request must only have a link info header with no nested attributes, since we're querying for all links. Yep. Yeah, that's much better, actually. OS X was simple, but Windows is so annoying. Yeah, I can imagine. Seago in Windows does not sound like a particular fun time to me. Yeah, it's nice that we can actually get rid of a lot of this stuff. So in this case, this is actually going to have the, let's see here, so TTLI is undefined, unexpected link info. Link info by index. So I guess we could have some hard-coded data in here, probably. We want to return E op not supported sometimes too. You know, I think I might leave this test for another day because I'm getting hungry and stuff. We've made a lot of progress though. I feel bad walking away with 52 viewers, but we've been going for about 3 hours and 45 minutes. We're doing pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if I have the energy right now, like finish this one in particular, but let's tidy up what we have at least. I will go ahead and just hide this, get rid of that for now. Let's see here. So this is also T helper, actually. T helper. Yeah, we made a lot of good progress today, though. We went from nothing to all of this, so I feel really good about that, you know. So link info by index, yeah. Still gotta figure that out. But I suspect we will be back tomorrow. So I was mentioning earlier on stream, but now we've got more folks here. I think I'll probably stream around the same time tomorrow. I think probably like 3:00 p.m. U.S. Eastern time, most likely. That way I'm able to do some chores and work out and stuff in the morning, and then in the afternoon we can do some more coding because I'm having a good time with this. It's just I can tell my mental capacity is starting to fade a little bit. You know, like I was saying earlier, I get to like the 4-hour mark in streaming, and it's like I hit a wall, and I can tell I'm kind of starting to get there. But this has been a ton of fun, so I appreciate you all hanging out. Anthony, thank you so much for the raid again. I gave your channel a follow, and I look forward to checking out your stream and hopefully throwing you a raid as well at some point. So, yeah, I think let's see here. Is there anybody we could send a raid? 4 hours of focus is a long time. Yeah, exactly. Well, there's nobody on my follow list at the moment that I could send a raid to, but I appreciate you all hanging out. This has been a ton of fun, so thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow, probably same time, same place. Alrighty, take care.